Chapter 730. Su Erkson instantly took up a stance and wanted to use the extraordinary sword moves of the Heavenly Sword Sect. Just as Su Fong was about to attack, she suddenly looked around. What's wrong? Su Erkson looked around in confusion. Su Fong gestured. There are just people around. Swoosh! Swoosh! In a flash, cultivators who were riding swords suddenly appeared in the surroundings. Almost all of them were at the Ascension Realm, and very few were at the Tribulation Realm. Judging from their attire and sword chi, they were naturally disciples of the Heavenly Sword Sect. What's going on, Master? Su Erkson hurriedly put away her sword and stared at her fellow disciples who had landed and surrounded the array formation. Instantly, her gaze landed on a few female cultivators. More than 30 experts surrounded the barrier, with a middle-aged woman as the leader. She was Su Erkson's master, but her gaze was cold. Eldest senior sister Chung Ying walked over from behind the middle-aged woman and reprimanded her in public. Little junior sister, how can you bring a foreign cultivator into the Tao Sanctum? You even seem to want to display our sect's sword techniques in front of outsiders. Su Erkson seemed to have suddenly understood and explained in public. Senior sister, master, you're wrong. This is Sun Er's friend. I only asked him to practice the sword with me. I didn't reveal any of our sect's sword chi cultivation techniques. Another high-level man also shouted, no wonder your strength has improved by leaps and bounds in the past few years. Do you know that our sect's sword techniques are unfathomable? How many people are secretly spying on us? Back then, it was precisely because of the sword Tao cultivation technique that our sect declined bit by bit and eventually hid in the immortal melody world. Eldest senior sister Chung Ying's eyes lit up. Why aren't you coming over? Senior sister. Su Erkson naturally understood that she could not defend herself. Sun, the middle-aged woman said slowly, I see that you have a gentle personality and don't see bloodshed. I allowed you to save mortals and place them in the territory of the sect. This is already against the sect's rules. However, you have also disappointed me by bringing a cultivator here. She could not defend herself. That was Su Erkson's current mood. Her face turned purple and white. She cupped her fists and bowed. I saw that he was seriously injured back then and saved him out of kindness. Furthermore, he did not ask me about any secrets of our sect's sword techniques. Junior sister. Eldest senior sister was anxious and worried. It could be seen that she was really thinking for Su Erkson. You go, Su Erkson's voice. Su Erkson's body was covered in cold sweat. The drops of crystal-clear sweat made her seem like a spiritual body. Once I leave this place, they will definitely make things difficult for you. Sun to Su Erkson to Erksons. Erksons to Su, to the Heaven Sect Fom Sect. Su Fong was calm and said with a smile, Sun ergo. Cultivate well in the future and stick to your own path of cultivation. In the future, the burning Heaven Sword Sect will be able to flourish in your hands. It just so happens that I came today to say goodbye to you. One of the higher-ups drew his sword and raged. You arrogant brat. You used my sect's disciples to obtain the Sword Heart Sutra, and now you want to leave. You can't stop me if I want to leave. Furthermore, I didn't peek at your Heaven Sect's Tao sword technique. I don't care about a second-rate power. Although your Heaven Sect sword techniques are indeed extraordinary, I have an even more extraordinary sword technique in my hands. Su Erkson looked around. If it weren't for Sun I would have already left. Why would I waste my breath with you? What arrogance! Do you think my Heaven Sect is a nameless sect? We must suppress this person. How arrogant! He's in our territory, yet he's so arrogant. His words infuriated the dozens of experts present. Almost all of them drew their swords. They wanted to see just how powerful Su Erkson was. He didn't even place the Heavens Sect in his eyes. Sun there's no free lunch in this world. Is this person going to raise your strength for a stranger? Junior sister, you don't have much experience in the world. You trust outsiders too easily. At this moment, Su Erkson suddenly saw the familiar and worried gazes of her fellow disciples. An inexplicable change suddenly appeared in her heart. Whoosh! They were in a stalemate. Suddenly, dozens of people flew over from the surroundings. They were led by an old man. This old man clearly had the strength of the great elder. He definitely had a high position in the Heavens sect. Everyone respectfully greeted the old man. Greetings, Punishment Elder. Punishment Elder is in trouble. Sue Erkson was already trembling like a frightened bird. Foreign cultivator, give up resisting. This is my Heaven's sect. Punishment Elder's voice was like a mountain. Every word was like a vast mountain that pressed down on Su Fong. Under the pressure of such an expert, Su Fong was still like a pine tree on a mountain. He stood with his hands behind his back. His expression didn't change at all. Punishment Elder was deeply shocked. He immediately looked at the middle-aged woman. Junior sister, this is an expert. The middle-aged woman nodded. Yes, he's a tough one. I don't have much time, and I won't waste any more time with you. Su Fong's body and expression finally slowly opened. He looked at the tiger-like and wolf-like experts of the Heavens sect, and then looked at Sue Erkson with a smile. They all want a reason. It seems that everything that I came to the Heavens sect and met you was premeditated. But I can tell you that all of this was an accident. Of course, I did plan to come to the Heavens sect before, but meeting you was an accident. I didn't come to the Heavens sect to steal any sword arts of the Heavens sect. He swept his gaze at the others. Su Fong was completely calm. I've actually thought about this reason for a long time. If you really want a reason, it's that my surname is also Su, the same surname as yours. Don't mortals often say that you and I might have been family many years ago? This is the reason. It's very simple. Sue Erkson was surprised. Your surname is also Su. I still don't know your name. Su Fong nodded. My name is Su Fong, and I come from a small world very far away from here. It will probably take several years to travel through the mystic door. Sonair, I treat you as my sister from the bottom of my heart, so I stayed here for a long time. Seeing that you have gained a lot during this period of time, I'm relieved. Actually, I also treat you as family. From the moment I met you, I felt very close to you. Otherwise, I definitely wouldn't have brought a cultivator here. Sue Erkson finally smiled. Since we have the same surname, I'll call you Big Brother from now on. You are Sun Air's brother, and also one of Sun Air's only family members in this world. I didn't expect to have another sister in this immortal melody world. Sister, I should go. Filled with reluctance and a smile, Su Fong turned to look at the Punishment Elder and the other experts. The sect leader is here. The outer experts still did not know what Su Fong was going to do. At this moment, many of them suddenly exclaimed, "What an expert!" Su Fong also looked at the sky in surprise. It turned out that more than 100 experts had appeared. It was a very powerful cultivator who was on par with the great Emperor Dipper, the Zhenhua Crown Prince, the Grand Marquis King, and the Third Crown Prince. For such a second-rate force to have such an expert, it must be the sect leader of the Burning Heaven Sword sect. Greetings, sect leader. All the disciples bowed, including Sue Erkson, who was inside the formation. A middle-aged man, under the protection of many experts, came over with an imposing aura. This person's nose was like a hanging gallbladder, and his hair was long. It was as sharp as sword chi. At a glance, one could tell that he was an expert of the sword Dao. After he nodded to the sect leader, his gaze landed on the formation and immediately met Su Fong's gaze in midair. You're an expert. An expert. When the Burning Heaven Sword sect appeared, he publicly admitted that Su Fong's strength was extraordinary, causing the other disciples to be very shocked. Even Su Fong felt that this person was very interesting. In front of so many disciples, he actually admitted that the enemy was strong. Some experts openly said, "Sect leader, take this child down. It's better to ask clearly first." The sword sect leader was a calm existence. I've already explained that I didn't come to the immortal melody world for the Burning Heaven Sword sect. I was injured and was accidentally saved by Sun Air. Now that I've recognized Sun Air as my sister, your Burning Heaven Sword sect can be considered my friend. Su Fong was even more calm. After he finished speaking, he condensed a rune talisman and gave it to the panicked Sue Erkson. If you have anything in the future, use the rune talisman. I can't let you go. Many experts immediately flew out and surrounded the formation. I don't even need to do anything to deal with you. Su Fong helplessly shook his head. After all, this matter was really unexplainable. Sect leader. Suddenly, a woman flew over with a few experts. This woman seemed to have deliberately come for Su Fong. She saw Su Fong from afar and was filled with shock. Su Fong was also shocked to see this woman. It turned out that she was none other than the female cultivator from the Burning Heaven Sword sect who had come to suppress the brute force Demon King. He had never expected to meet her here today. The Burning Heaven sect leader looked at the woman. Why? You should be recuperating from your injuries. Sect leader, fellow sect members. The woman appeared in midair and bowed to the surrounding experts of the Burning Heaven Sword sect. This time, I was able to escape from the Crow King continent because someone had suppressed the brute force Demon King and rescued me. Otherwise, I would have been destroyed by that Demon King for the rest of my life. She stared at Su Fong in front of everyone. The person who saved me is him. Him. Many experts were like wooden puppets as they stared at Su Fong. The woman said solemnly, "This person's strength is boundless. I don't know what method he used to kill his way into the brute force Demon King's territory, but he easily suppressed it. This person naturally did not come to my Burning Heaven Sword sect to steal the sword art. With his strength, he definitely would not cultivate our sect's mental cultivation technique." I see. Many experts understood, and the hostility in their gazes towards Su Fong completely disappeared. Fortunately, I did not save you for nothing. However, I also did not expect this to happen. I suppressed the big goblin and saved many people, but you're the only one I met again. Su Fong slowly sighed. Master. Suddenly, a young man's voice pierced through the air. When the voice appeared, many experts of the Burning Heaven Sword sect acted as if they were facing a great enemy. One expert. Everyone be careful! Exclamation point. A yellow-clothed man appeared in the air when the experts of the Burning Heaven Sword sect were about to attack. He controlled the void, and only Su Fong was in his eyes. Master, are you all right? Do you need this subordinate to take action? No need. What happened between me and the Burning Heaven Sword sect is just a misunderstanding. Su Fong nodded towards the man inside the formation. The man was Su Jinhua. Buzz. Su Fong suddenly disappeared from Su Erkson's side. Without activating the formation, he instantly appeared beside Su Jinhua and looked down at Su Erkson. Sunair, remember to activate the rune talisman if you need anything. I, your big brother, will come to see you again in the future. The next time I see you, you must at least become an expert like the Punishment Elder. Chi. Just as he finished speaking, Su Fong and Su Jinhua had already disappeared into thin air. Not a single trace of them could be seen in the surrounding high altitude. Big brother. Su Erkson hurriedly wanted to chase after them, but in the vast sky, her voice seemed insignificant. As for the experts of the Burning Heaven Sword sect, they had already become statues. They were deeply shocked by the strength of Su Fong and Su Jinhua. Chapter 731. In the endless sky of the continent where the Burning Heaven Sword sect was located, Su Fong and Su Jinhua floated in the sky, quietly waiting. About 2 hours later, a figure continuously shuttled back and forth. His speed was also as high as the Great Elders. It was Li Haojia. Haha, Brother Fong, this time I went to the heavenly pool ruins of the 3 great continents. Li Haojia arrived in front of the two, very proud, but also a little tired. There are too many demon kings in the heavenly pool ruins, more than 100. In the past 10 years, I suppressed 3 demon kings and hundreds of big goblin. The heavenly pool ruins is now a mess. After speaking, he activated a Dao treasure channel, and nearly 1,000 big goblins were transferred into Su Fong's treasure space. Of course, he had also obtained many treasures, and his strength was now infinitely close to the Great Elders. Su Fong smiled. You and I suppressed more than 2,000 big goblin, and that's not too many. The heavenly pool ruins have alarmed countless big goblin. You and I better go to the Wuwang continent and the Demon Cavern continent to deal with the big goblin. The Wuwang continent has a 9-headed demon king, and it is very powerful. After suppressing it, it also has many big goblin subordinates. The nine-headed demon king is indeed more powerful than the two demon kings I suppressed. Lihaojia gradually calmed down. After giving him an immortal strength and a stalk of grass of immortality, the three immediately teleported and left the continent, heading towards the Wuwang continent. When they were about to reach the Wuwang continent, Su Fong released Demon King Brute Force. Demon King Brute Force brought the three deeper into the continent, crossing the nine-headed mountain and arriving at a vast forest world. Along the way, they encountered some big goblin, but these scattered demons naturally did not attract Su Fong's attention. Finally, they arrived at a vast forest. Demon King Brute Force introduced to the three. In the depths of this forest, there is a nine-headed city, which is the lair of the nine-headed Demon King. There are thousands of big goblin under it, and it is the strongest Demon King faction on the Wuwang continent. What kind of demon is it? Lihaojia asked coldly. The nine-headed Demon King's true form is a nine-headed insect. When he was born, he only had one head. Later on, when he was cultivating, he ate a spirit grass with 9 leaves. Who would have thought that as he grew, he would continue to grow more and more heads? Finally, he had 9 heads. The reason why he's so strong is because of his 9-headed insect body. His attacks are equivalent to 9 big goblins' attacks. I could only withstand 10 moves from him, not just an ordinary level of strength. He is probably at the same level as a Mortal Toad and Skydrill Rat Emperor. He has already reached the level of ascension. It will be difficult for either of us to deal with this big goblin. However, if we work together, even if he is several times stronger, there will only be one outcome. That's true. You and I have both reached the same level as the Great Elder. There is still a gap between us and the 9-headed Demon King. But if we work together and use all kinds of techniques, the 9-headed Demon King will definitely be suppressed. Brotherly, this 9-headed Demon King is not simple. I think he is even stronger than a Mortal Toad. I am lacking such big goblin. Let's talk about it as we walk. Su Fong patted Lihaojia's shoulder. With a small commander like the 9-headed Demon King, his overall strength would increase to another level. He was looking forward to it. The three of them followed the brute force Demon King into the forest. The forest was very humid, and the fog was getting thicker as it got older. The fog permeated between the forest and the sky. Asterisk, 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 asterisk in a world very far away from the immortal melody world, the Wutan world. In the sky above the Wutan world, there was a boundless galaxy. A heavenly thunder from the outer heavens shattered a large number of meteorites and drilled into the sky above the Wutan world. Outside the barrier of the Wutan world, thousands of Green Lotus Sword sect disciples were waiting. The leader was a middle-aged man. Beside him was the Sword Elder, who had a higher status than Red Lotus Great Elder. This middle-aged man was the current supreme sect leader of the Green Lotus Sword sect. The Green Lotus sect leader and the Sword Elder, as well as the thousands of experts around, looked at the heavenly thunder from the outer heavens in shock. No words could describe this scene. The Sword Elder suddenly whispered to the Green Lotus sect leader, "Sect leader, should we inform Senior 7-Star Child?" The Green Lotus sect leader said cautiously, "No, don't inform Senior 7-Star Child yet. Let's see what the Senior 7-Star Child from the lower domain thinks first." Chi-Chi, the heavenly thunder from the sky above, disappeared. Suddenly, a heavenly light started to expand and walked out from the hole. All the experts of the Green Lotus Sword sect went forward to welcome it. Within the heavenly light in the hole, there was a rock from a great world. There were many profound, great world, immortal rune seals on it. Kacha the rock suddenly shattered. A young man walked out from it. The moment he appeared, the rock behind him completely collapsed. Unexpectedly, there was a young man among the fragments. The young man looked at the young man. The young man was wearing a white, immortal robe with many lotus imprints. "Brother Huang, is this the small world you're in?" The young man in the immortal robe said politely, "It's here. Brother, look at those mortals flying over. They're the successors of the Green Lotus Sword sect. Some of them have already ascended and will ascend to the great world in the future." He didn't expect a young man to be so polite in front of a young man. The senior from the lower domain is Huang Yuran from the Green Lotus Sword sect, who ascended to the great world 50,000 years ago. Sect leader Huang. Most of the people from the Green Lotus Sword sect were waiting below. Only a dozen people flew over. The Green Lotus sect leader led the Sword Elder and the other experts. Before they arrived in front of the two immortals, they called out from afar. The young man in the immortal robe shot out a lotus sword chi. Instantly, the experts of the Green Lotus Sword sect were pleasantly surprised. He nodded. I'm Huang Yuran. Senior, you ascended 50,000 years ago. When you ascended, you looked like you were in your 60s. Now, you're only in your 20s. I can't believe it. The Green Lotus sect leader finally arrived in front of the two immortals. He bowed and released a feather aura. I'm the current leader of the Green Lotus Sword sect, Lu Qingfeng. I've controlled the sect's Tao for 6,000 years. Lu Qingfeng, your foundation isn't bad. You only have one more tribulation before you can ascend to the great world, said Huang Yuran with some admiration. Senior Immortal, are you also a senior of the Green Lotus Sword sect? The Green Lotus sect leader, Lu Qingfeng, bowed to the youth. Huang Yuran waved his hand, and his aura gathered the Sword Elder and the other experts of the Green Lotus Sword sect. He then introduced them. This is a major figure from the great world. You can call him senior. He's a major figure in the great world. My Green Lotus Sword sect's senior ascended. It's all thanks to the help of the faction behind this senior that we were able to establish ourselves in the great world. Greetings, senior. Lu Qingfeng led the Sword Elder and the others to kneel before the youth. The youth didn't say anything. He only released a faint strand of his aura, and the experts couldn't help but retreat. Huang Yuran looked at Lu Qingfeng angrily. Who dares to kill my Green Lotus Sword sect's disciples? It's a young cultivator who's about to rise. His name is Su Fang. Lu Qingfeng replied honestly, as if he were walking on thin ice. Old sect leader, this Su Fang is very skilled. He was the one who stole the divine image Jade Annulus. Divine image Jade Annulus. Huang Yuran was incomparably furious. He suppressed his aura and looked at the youth. Brother, the divine image Jade Annulus is in this small world. This time, I'll definitely be able to find it and give it to you. Although the divine image, Jade Annulus, isn't a peerless offensive Tao artifact, its ability to deduce cultivation flaws is something that no Tao artifact has. Back then, after discussing with many experts, we followed the plan to benefit the Sword sect from the lower world and destroy the Spirit sect. Unfortunately, we only obtained a portion of the Tao artifact. Now that it has appeared, it's even easier to obtain it. The youth said disdainfully. The immortals of the Spirit sect who ascended to the great world were all ants. They didn't know how to offer treasures like the divine image, Jade Annulus. They didn't even bring treasures like the divine image, Jade Annulus, into the immortal world. That's why they brought death upon themselves. Since the Spirit sect has been destroyed, we must obtain the divine image, Jade Annulus. This kind of rare treasure may not be a top Tao artifact, but it's a supreme treasure that many experts want to collect. Lu Qingfeng continued. Old sect master, this junior has another important matter to report to you. Do you know about the expert called 7-Star Child from over 100,000 years ago? I've heard of him. He once protected my sword sect, but when I ascended to the great world, I didn't meet him in the immortal world. Huang Yuran was startled. You mean he also descended to the great world? That's right. It's a coincidence. The mortal Su Fang who stole the divine image, Jade Annulus, came to the Wutan world. I heard that he accidentally broke into the 7-Star Demon Island and destroyed his second clone. That's why he descended to the great world. It's already been over 100 years. He's asked us to deal with Su Fang several times, but we haven't succeeded. Old brother, 7-Star Child, is an immortal who ascended 100,000 years ago. He used to have a very good relationship with my sword sect. He shouldn't have descended to the great world for the divine image, Jade Annulus. I've never heard of this person either. If he's an immortal who ascended to the great world from your small world and has a good relationship with your sword sect, I should know. It's obvious that when this person ascended, he entered another ascension storm and entered the immortal world of the other great world. After all, this person has appeared for 100,000 years and hasn't contacted us in all these years. If this person becomes an enemy, it won't be easy to deal with him. To be able to descend to the great world after 100,000 years, his cultivation must be quite high. You don't have to worry. He met me. If he's really our enemy, he won't last long against me. The young man was full of disdain for Seven-Star Child. With old brother here, everything will be as easy as flipping his hand. Huang Yuan waved her arm. Under the protection of more than a dozen experts from the Green Lotus Sword sect, she crossed the thousands of experts and quickly entered the Wutan world. Asterisk, 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 Immortal Melody World. Wu King Continent. In the depths of a large forest shrouded in fog, a 9-pointed demon city sat in a formation. There was a statue of an evil head erected in each of the 9 directions of this demon city, symbolizing that this was the 9-headed demon king's territory. Just outside this big goblin city, there was a firm enchantment that exuded a demonic aura. Rays of light shrouded 3 people and 1 demon, penetrating the formation. The brute force demon king whispered, "Master, in the center of the 9-headed city, the 9-headed palace is the 9-headed demon king's training ground. His aura is in there, so he must be there." Su Fong controlled the Tao artifact's immortal aura and entered the enchantment. After thinking for a while, he ordered Su Jinhua, "You've recently absorbed the elemental refining immortal pearl, and your strength has increased greatly. When Brotherly and I are dealing with a 9-headed demon king, you'll be in charge of keeping the big goblin busy." "Yes," Su Jinhua answered honestly. At this moment, the 3 people and 1 demon could finally enter the enchantment. Li Haojia asked curiously, "Brother Fong, how confident are you that we can deal with a 9-headed demon king and thousands of big goblin in its territory?" Of course, I have a big move to deal with the 9-headed demon king. If it's just you and me, we can only think of other ways to deal with a 9-headed demon king. He must have so many subordinates." Su Fong smiled mysteriously. Even Li Haojia and Su Jinhua did not know what he had up his sleeves. The 3 people and 1 demon entered the formation, but Su Fong left the Tao artifact's light outside. He did not bring the divine image, Jade Annulus, with him. Chapter 732. As soon as the 3 of them entered the enchantment, the brute force demon king turned into a black light and disappeared from Su Fong's palm. Using the power of the world, Su Fong, Su Jinhua, and Li Haojia gradually entered the city. They could clearly see various big goblin martial artists patrolling the city. There were more than 100 of them. It was probably because of the commotion at the 9 Heads Mountain and the brute force demon king's incident that 9 Heads City was heavily guarded. It felt like a human training ground. Luckily, the big goblin senses and mystical abilities were not as good as humans. They cannot be compared at all. Under the concealment of the world's aura, the 3 of them were able to avoid many caves and castles. Gradually, they arrived at the most important 9 Heads Palace. 9 Heads City was obviously different from the 9 Heads Mountain controlled by the brute force demon king. Most of the city was made up of castles. They were like giant monsters hiding on the ground. The 3 of them were hiding around the 9 Heads Palace. The 9 Heads Palace was built at the highest point. It was like a plateau that overlooked the entire city. The palace was surrounded by a lush forest and a mountain peak. The 3 of them were hiding in the forest. Li Haojia looked serious. "Brother Fong, there are probably more than 100 powerful demons. Outside the enchantment, I cannot feel them clearly. Now it's different. With the 3 of us, facing thousands of big goblin and more than 100 monsters close to the brute force demon king is like smashing eggs against a rock." Hee. Su Fong was still kneeling with an evil grin on his face. His eyes were fixed on the array formation above. "We have helpers. You will know in a moment. No matter how powerful the demon is, it is useless. Once the helpers make their move, the heavens and earth will crumble. Everything here will be razed to the ground." Li Haojia still did not understand. "I thought you and I would team up and ambush the 9 Heads Demon King." just like how he fought the immortal toad in the old immortal's cave. The immortal toad was an accident. Back then, we were not even half as strong as we are now. This time, it is different. Just to be safe, I will use the power of the earth treasure and hide underground. This time, I guarantee that most of the big goblin will be suppressed by you and me. A ray of yellow light entangled the three of them. His palms released a crystalline yellow luster as he brought the two of them underground. This ability was similar to Su Fang's ability to easily enter the ground without causing any commotion. 100 meters underground. Su Fang stopped and looked at Li Haojia and Su Jinhua before releasing a trace of Dao treasure aura. This aura escaped into the ground and transcended the material of the mortal world. In an instant, it arrived in the sky outside this world, about tens of thousands of meters in the air. The aura of the Dao artifact shot into a cloud. The cloud suddenly shook open. It was the divine image, Jade Annulus. The jade disk began to emit a blinding Dao light. Below, it was the nine-headed city that was controlled by the nine-headed demon king. Buzz, 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 boundless Dao artifact, divine, might shot out from the Dao artifact, forming a Dao artifact, immortal light more than 10,000 meters long. Then, a 10,000-meter-long black shadow emerged from it. The black shadow was the number one big goblin of the immortal melody world. Perhaps he was also the heaven-horn giant striped turtle, the number one big goblin in this galaxy. The turtle demon's head stared below. Its body looked extremely cumbersome, but under the effect of the Dao artifact, it could still float tens of thousands of meters in the air. It looked down at Nine-Headed City eerily. Kid, you owe me a huge favor this time. You want me to help you deal with the big goblin. You have to think of a way to break my shackles and ascend as soon as possible. Such a huge monster suddenly appeared in the sky. It even blocked the sunlight, causing the rays of the suns to lose their effect. The changing of suns in the sky still makes me anxious. The undying turtle stared at the suns in the sky. Then, the divine might around it slowly disappeared. Immediately after, the turtle demon was like a huge mountain floating in the sky. It lost its gravitational pull and plummeted to the ground. The low-altitude clouds were scattered by the undying turtle's fall. The air was crushed, and like a black sky, it smashed towards Nine-Headed City. 10,000 meters, 1,000 meters, 100 meters. Why did the sky suddenly turn dark? Outside the barrier protecting Nine-Headed City, a few big goblins flew out and were checking the situation outside the barrier. However, their eyes suddenly became gloomy. Another vertical airflow rolled down from the sky, and the impact was shocking. When they looked up, they were so shocked that they could not react. They saw a black object bigger than Nine-Headed City, like a huge rock from the sky, smashing towards them and the barrier. Boom! Nine-Headed City, which was surrounded by a vast forest, was originally silent. However, as the undying turtle smashed into the sky, it was as if it was really hit by a meteorite. A deafening sound of impact was heard, and the entire forest shook. The storm formed by the impact formed a shockwave that rolled in all directions. Wherever the shockwave passed by, it turned into fine powder in the blink of an eye. The mountains collapsed, and the forest disappeared. At the same time, a circle of dust that was 10,000 meters long rose up in the sky. It rolled up from inside and surged into the sky, forming a dust mushroom. The empty land around Nine-Headed City also started to shatter under the impact of the undying turtle. Countless cracks appeared on the ground. At this moment, Nine-Headed City was completely crushed by the undying turtle. There was no sign of Nine-Headed City. There was only a big goblin, an indescribably huge turtle demon. As for the few big goblins that flew out of the array, they were probably smashed into meat paste or meat patties under the impact of the undying turtle. In short, being smashed by such a terrifying monster from the sky, even the nature-defying big goblin would not be able to withstand it. Below the undying turtle, the churning airflow that was spurting out in all directions was still exploding. The undying turtle lazily revealed a violent demonic light. Kid, I'll add some more seasoning for you. Don't worry, I won't crush the big goblin. Pa pa pa, like a huge rock pressing down on Nine-Headed City. The undying turtle suddenly stretched out its 4 legs and stomped out 4 big holes. What was it doing? It turned out that the 4 legs suddenly made the undying turtle stand up. As soon as its body left the ground, it saw the flattened, Nine-Headed City, and there was blood everywhere. When its demonic body left the ground, the undying turtle suddenly coiled its body and once again used its big goblin body to smash the flattened, Nine-Headed City. This time, the thousands of big goblins that were pressed under its body, even if they were still breathing, would be smashed into pieces by this pressure. Buzz! A ball of great Tao artifact light with a shocking aura descended from the sky and floated above the undying turtle, waiting for the attack. The undying turtle seemed to have stopped moving and was still lying on the ground lazily. As for Nine-Headed City, which was pressed down by its abdomen, at this moment, all kinds of crashing and grinding sounds could be heard everywhere. Some demonic light and demonic fire also shot out in fear. Under these lights, one could see that in the ruins, many bloody big goblins were being pressed under the undying turtle's abdomen. Many big goblins felt the undying turtle's demonic aura and took out their Dharma treasures, spitting out poisonous gas and shooting demonic fire to attack the undying turtle. But even when the Dharma treasures hit the undying turtle's abdomen, they did not cause any damage to the undying turtle at all. King orders us to escape. Under the dark and bloody ruins, the big goblins started to shout in panic. And 100 meters underground, cough, cough. In the cracked underground rocks, the 3 of them felt lifeless under the weak Xianguang. Li Haojia suddenly sighed and said, What kind of power is this? It actually tore the ground apart. If Brother Fong did not prepare in advance, we would have been smashed into pieces by this huge force. I did not expect the outcome to be so shocking. This is beyond my expectations. Let's get out quickly. I originally wanted to let the undying turtle launch a surprise attack to destroy Nine-Headed City and injure most of the demons. Then, we will work together to deal with the Nine-Headed Demon King. Su Fong did not finish his sentence and looked very disheveled. He hurriedly activated his divine aura and carried Su Jinhua and Li Haojia along the cracks and flew to the ground. In less than 3 breaths, they flew out of the ground along with the light of heaven and earth and arrived at the left side of the undying turtle. The first thing the 3 of them saw was the divine aura of the Tao artifact, which enveloped the area and the sky that the undying turtle was suppressing. The divine aura was naturally released from the divine image jade annulus. Could this be the legendary heavenly horned giant striped turtle that has lived for hundreds of thousands of years in the immortal melody world? Su Jinhua recognized the undying turtle. Li Haojia said uneasily, What a terrifying big goblin. Su Fong looked at Su Jinhua and said, This is the undying turtle. We accidentally suppressed it a while ago. Let's not talk about it. Su Jinhua, prepare to suppress the big goblin that escaped. There are probably thousands of big goblins and countless of them have died. Even if they managed to escape, they would not be comparable to ordinary big goblins. Su Jinhua released the divine aura of the Tao artifact, and the Emperor's seal appeared on his body. He flashed and appeared 1,000 meters above the undying turtle. Under the barrier formed by the divine aura of the Tao artifact, he observed everything around him. Soon, he heard a rumbling sound. Some big goblin had escaped. More than 10 big goblins reverted back to their original forms and crawled out from under the undying turtle, but they did not have the strength to fly. Su Jinhua immediately rushed over and effortlessly used the Tao artifact to suppress these big goblins. They were all sucked into the essence refining immortal pearl space. There were more things nearby. Some big goblins could still fly. They did not care about the 9-headed demon king anymore and immediately escaped. However, they were all suppressed by the divine image jade annulus barrier and were all sucked into the door. In other words, they were all sucked into the divine image jade annulus space. The divine image, Jade Annulus, was originally a Tao artifact of higher quality. Now that Su Fong had activated more of its power, it was naturally a piece of cake for it to suppress the big goblin, especially the big goblin that was unable to resist. These were the reinforcements that Su Fong had planned from the start. The reinforcements played a crucial role. Su Jinhua was using the essence refining Immortal Pearl's power to capture the big goblin, while the divine image Jade Annulus was suppressing the Demon King. Su Fong and Li Haojia were using their sensing abilities. Li Haojia was overjoyed. "Brother Fong, I sense the nine-headed Demon King's aura. It's leading more than 10 big goblins' aura towards the back of the undying turtle. This big goblin is probably not too badly injured, but it's probably not in a good condition either." Su Fong signaled with his eyes, and the two of them flashed to the back of the undying turtle. Pop, pop, padong, dang, dang, the two of them instantly saw an indescribable scene. Some big goblin crawled out in pain. Some of them had half of their bodies pressed into the ground by the undying turtle. Many big goblins struggled, shooting out Dharma treasures or using parts of its body to attack the undying turtle. The Dharma treasures could not even shake the undying turtle. They could not even scratch the undying turtle's skin, let alone its shell. No matter how many attacks they launched, they could not even leave a mark on its body. Boom! All of a sudden, a deafening explosion took place on the ground only 30 meters away from the undying tortoise. More than a dozen great beasts had turned the ground upside down, revealing a huge hole. It was a giant worm that was 30 meters tall and covered in crimson demonic patterns. Nine-headed Demon King, the other big goblin, were also shockingly huge. However, no matter how frightening their demon aura was, they all had different injuries. It could be seen that the impact of the undying turtle falling from the sky was something that even these big goblin could not withstand. Su Fong and Li Haojia immediately flew up and secretly ordered, pay attention to these big goblin. Don't worry about the other demons. It's not a problem for some to escape." Chapter 733. After Su Fong gave the order, the godly might enchantment Tao artifact that shrouded this part of the world gathered its aura in this direction. Run! The evil nine-headed Demon King was not a good person. Naturally, it was not an ordinary big goblin. It could see that the surroundings were shackled by the Taoist artifact and seemed to have recognized the undying tortoise. In this unfavorable situation, it decisively chose to escape with the big goblin. Swish! Swish! The nine-headed Demon King led a dozen big goblin towards the Tao artifact enchanted boundary. Hold on. Although the Tao artifact's divine might was powerful, it might not be able to stop the dozen or so peerless big goblin if it covered such a large area. This time was different from the time when he dealt with the immortal toad. He could not afford to be careless and let the nine-headed Demon King escape. The supreme young infant exploded, and the divine might fused with the divine image, Jade Annulus. The divine might of the divine image and the Tao treasure immediately fused, and this area became the space under Su Fong's control. Yin-Yang Rakshasa's sword. A dozen big goblin were about to crash into the Tao artifact barrier. Two sword star storms that contained blazing fire clouds pounced out of the Tao artifact barrier like ferocious beasts. They were so fast that the dozen or so big goblin could not react in time. Swoosh! Swoosh! The nine-headed Demon King and his subordinates, the big goblin, were hit by the unparalleled superpower. The Yin-Yang Rakshasa's sword, which was infused with the illusory fire cloud, was destructive. Even the big goblin was covered in wounds from the countless sword stars. Yuan Transformation Heavenly Book, Blood Seal, Demon Suppression. Li Haojia was one step ahead. At the same time, he activated the Elemental Suppression Demon Transmutation Heavenly Book at the same time as Su Fong attacked. The true energy that erupted from his eyes and aura contained a violent aura. It wasn't a murderous aura, nor was it demonic energy or devil energy. Rather, it was a destructive power that seemed to come from heavenly tribulation. However, it was not too intense. Li Haojia grabbed two blood-red Dao artifact lights that looked like illusion cloud ropes with both hands and drilled into the group of big goblin, entangling two of them. Chi-Chi, the two big goblins were entangled by the blood-colored light, and their demonic auras were instantly devoured. The blood-colored light was like a twisting force that pierced into the big goblin's body, turning into a terrifying force that could devour the big goblin's demonic aura. Li Haojia threw it out forcefully and grabbed it out of the big goblin camp. Jiejia. The two big goblins' strength was comparable to the brute force demon king. They were the nine-headed demon king, a force of the demonic path. They were extremely powerful and would not allow themselves to be suppressed so easily. Under the power of the blood-colored shackles, although their demonic chi was devoured, they still used their demonic bodies to attack. Furthermore, they spat out special venom from their mouths in an attempt to kill Li Haojia. Li Haojia continued to dodge. At the same time, he cast even more blood-colored forbidden spells. If this continued, the two big goblins' heads and mouths would be sealed. Pa, pa, pa. The Yin-Yang Rakshasa sword had almost formed a storm as it surrounded and killed the other big goblin. Demon blood was everywhere, and even the ground was bleeding. Suddenly, the two big goblin rushed out of the storm with heavy injuries. The nine-headed demon king and a purplish-black snake, especially the purplish-black big goblin. Its speed was as fast as lightning, and its body was covered with sword wounds. However, it also summoned a demonic wind and wanted to escape from the Dao artifact space with a nine-headed demon king. Bam! Su Fong flashed and was 3 times their size. In the blink of an eye, the two big goblin were blocked. Human. The nine-headed demon king was furious. The blood on its body was corroding with an indescribable sound. However, in front of Su Fong, the two big goblin were already at the end of their rope. Now you can completely separate yourself from me. Use all your strength to shackle the remaining big goblin. Even if you can't suppress them, you have to trap them inside. After forming the seal, this scene made the nine-headed demon king and the snake smile. However, their eyes were filled with confusion. The Dao artifact space that was shackling them disappeared from this space. They regained their freedom and appeared in nature. The purplish-black snake coiled its body. It turned out that its snake spirit was like a pole. It was not as thick and round as the big goblin. When half of its body stood up, it was hundreds of feet tall. It spat out its forked tongue ferociously. Oomph! Without a Dao artifact, you're just asking for death. The nine-headed demon king's 9 heads opened their mouths and breathed out demonic burning smoke. It was similar to the bloody hell wolf smoke used by the night spirit sex experts. The head in the middle looked at the purplish-black snake. Purple Fongjun, look at how he's trying to block our way. This king is the ruler of this territory. No matter what, we have to kill him today. All right, the snake drooled. It seemed like it really wanted to eat a human alive. Master, that purplish-black snake is called Purple Fongjun. It has a human name and usually transforms into a purple-robed young master. It's good at using bewitchment techniques and often goes to human territories to capture female cultivators. Its strength is on par with mine. Speed and snake venom are its specialty. In the dark, Xianhuang's 6 Paths Pagoda transmitted a telepathic message to the brute force demon king. As for the 9-headed demon king, its 9 heads can breathe out a special poisonous smoke and poisonous fire. The poisonous gas is very scary. Even the big goblin is afraid of it. The head in the middle controls the movements of all the other heads. It has a very powerful Dharma treasure called the Equatorial Wind Fire Wheel. Not only can it restrain the enemy, it can also breathe out flames. Only this big goblin can help me deal with the Xunyuan Empire and the 7-Star Child. After receiving such important information, Su Fong prepared to take down the 2 big goblins. The 9-headed demon king and Purple Fongjun were severely injured. Su Fong, on the other hand, had recovered from his injuries. His strength had reached an unprecedented level. He was confident that he could take down the 2 big goblins. Venomous snake. The upper half of the purple snake's body suddenly swooped down. When it opened its mouth, it breathed out a large amount of purple, demonic aura. The demonic aura contained a shocking amount of venom. Overlord's sacred body, flesh, fetus, divine armor. Su Fong immediately activated the Divine Emperor's divine origin scripture, the strongest Overlord body, the body of the Emperor. Combined with the flesh, fetus, divine armor, it instantly formed a sturdy defense around him. He also had a dominating aura. When the demonic aura and snake venom pounced on him, the starry daylight sword appeared in his hand. Boom! When the snake venom and demonic aura came into contact with Su Fong's aura, they were all turned into dust. The same happened to the snake venom and demonic aura. Strong. Su Fong's strength was even more demonic than the two big goblins. Of course, if the purple Feng Jun was not injured, Su Fong would not have been able to neutralize the attack so easily. The purple snake released its snake venom and demonic aura again. At the same time, the nine-headed demon king also released its snake venom and demonic aura. Other than the head in the middle, the other 8 heads suddenly opened their mouths at the same time, forming more than 30 astonishing flower heads. Rustle, rustle. They were also poisonous aura, but they turned into poisonous smoke and formed 8 poisonous smoke tornadoes. One after another, they attacked Su Fong together. These venom, poisonous smoke, and demonic aura were all highly toxic. Moreover, their impact and destructive power were also destructive. They could instantly turn an elder into dust. The supreme power of the world, Blood Hell Wolf Smoke. Su Fong suddenly used another superpower. It was the power of the Night Spirit sect, the Blood Hell Wolf Smoke. In terms of venom and evil, no big goblin could compare to the Blood Hell Wolf Smoke of the Night Spirit sect. Fortunately, this power was controlled by Su Fong. After he formed a seal, the power of the world pushed the 2 demonic aura into a torrent. Just as the demonic aura was about to devour him, the Blood Hell Wolf Smoke suddenly surged out in front of him. Pa pa pa, sizzle sizzle sizzle. The demonic aura and Blood Hell Wolf Smoke were fighting against each other. Su Fong, the 9-headed demon king, and the purple Feng Jun. Both powers had the power to devour and shackle. They wanted to devour each other. The devouring power of the 2 demonic auras seemed fierce, especially the 8 demonic auras of the 9-headed demon king. However, what the 2 demons did not expect was that the devouring power of the Blood Hell Wolf Smoke contained the evilness of the Endless Abyss. This kind of evil was not just devouring and merging. It was a kind of absolute possession. Not only did it want to devour everything, it wanted to occupy everything. It was as if the Blood Hell Wolf Smoke was going to devour everything. The 2 sides fought like this. The demonic aura and genuine chi were constantly depleted, forming steam in the air. It was like a bubble that kept evaporating. The purple Fengjuan snake body was ferocious. He said in shock, "This human is so powerful. He doesn't look like a flying celestial who survived the apocalypse. He's not a flying celestial. He's not even a wing transformation realm cultivator. He's just a catastrophe realm cultivator. We can definitely deal with him if we work together." The 9-headed demon king's head in the middle suddenly opened its mouth and spat out a glaring flame. This flame had the power of a Dharma treasure. It was an extraordinary royal-grade Dharma treasure. Equatorial wind fire wheel. Within the flame, a circular Dharma treasure was formed. It looked like an enlarged bracelet. However, this Dharma treasure was flat and divided into 4 segments. Each segment had 2 small golden bells. There were a total of 8 small bells that emitted strange sparks. Ding dong. The 9-headed demon king's head in the middle spewed out demonic aura and attacked the equatorial wind fire wheel. The 8 small bells vibrated continuously and emitted even more dazzling sparks. Suddenly, a wave of fire turned into a hole, like a flaming beast that bit toward Su Fong. The wave of fire penetrated and burned in the air. Su Fong could not open his eyes because of the Dharma treasure's power. Equatorial wind fire wheel. It seemed like this was the 9-headed demon king's amazing Dharma treasure. This Dharma treasure was indeed extraordinary. It was a fire elemental Dharma treasure. With such power, it must be a powerful royal gray Dharma treasure. Activating the speed and the power of the world, Su Fong suddenly split into a large number of Wuji doppelgangers. One by one, Su Fong flashed around. "Oh no!" the nine-headed demon king exclaimed. "I can't tell which one is the real one. Who cares where the real one is? Burn them all to death. Kill them all." The purple wind monarch suddenly opened his mouth, and a black royal grade flying sword shot towards the large number of Wuji doppelgangers. Crack! Crack! The flying sword pierced through the Wuji doppelgangers, and they shattered one by one. The flames from the equatorial wind fire wheel also engulfed the Wuji doppelgangers, burning them until they shattered. However, there were even more Wuji doppelgangers. In the air in front of the two big demons, there were hundreds of Wuji doppelgangers leaping and flying. The two big goblins did not care who the real one was. When the doppelgangers approached, they activated their Dharma treasures to kill them. This way, the doppelgangers could not get close. Natal divine power, blessing. However, Su Fong used the Tao of illusions and reality. Under the cover of the Wuji doppelgangers, he hid his aura and appeared above the two big goblins. He waved his sword in the air, and a white blade pierced through the back of the purple wind monarch's head. Xianhuang, 6 Paths Pagoda. At the same time, on the 6th floor of the Xianhuang 6 Paths Pagoda, Su Fong's right hand grabbed the air above the nine-headed demon king and suppressed it. The heads of the nine-headed demon king felt that something was wrong. When they saw the Xianhuang 6 Paths Pagoda descending, the head in the middle spat out a demonic aura. Equatorial Wind Fire Wheel. It wanted to use the Equatorial Wind Fire Wheel to deal with the Xianhuang 6 Paths Pagoda. Whoosh! A white light was pulled out from the purple wind monarch's demonic body, and Su Fong slashed out. It hit the right side of the Equatorial Wind Fire Wheel, which was about to go against the Xianhuang 6 Paths Pagoda. Dang! The white light was the Starry Daylight sword that Su Fong had just merged with. Its attack was formless, and it was too strange. The Starry Daylight sword hit the Equatorial Wind Fire Wheel head-on. It was an artifact at the pinnacle of the royal grade. It suppressed the Equatorial Wind Fire Wheel head-on and sent it flying. The nine-headed demon king watched the Xianhuang 6 Paths Pagoda fall. Damn it! Boom! 6 levels of the Xianhuang 6 Paths Pagoda, shrouded in gold and silver light, pressed down on the nine-headed demon king's body. The nine-headed demon king fell to the ground with a loud thud, causing the ground to crack. Chapter 734. The Xianhuang 6 Paths Pagoda was too overbearing. Although the nine-headed demon king's body was huge and had unlimited divine power, it was still suppressed by the Xianhuang 6 Paths Pagoda. The nine-headed demon king could not break free from the Dharma treasure. Chi. The nine-headed demon king struggled as the ground cracked. Its 9 heads screamed in pain. The Xianhuang 6 Paths Pagoda hit the joint of its head and body. It was like a steel nail that nailed it into the ground. Su Fong heaved a sigh of relief and said, "Even if the divine jade annulus is not in my body, I can still use my life's divine power to suppress this big goblin." Swish! Swish! The severely injured purple Fongjun should have stepped forward to save the nine-headed demon king. But after being stabbed by the Starry Daylight sword, the nine-headed demon king spat out a large amount of snake venom and demonic aura. Then, it turned its body and escaped into the distance. The big goblin's body swept across the ground, leaving a deep crack in the ground. It was obvious that a big goblin of this level had terrifying destructive power. "Purple Wind Snake, where are you going?" Su Fong's eyes lit up as he stared at the escaping Purple Wind King. He conjured a beam of spiritual light with both hands and said, "Starry Daylight sword, go." A streak of white light that cannot be seen by the naked eye pierced through the air swiftly and fiercely. Once the Starry Daylight sword was activated, it would lose its form and merge with the natural light. It was the best weapon to assassinate a strong enemy. Piak! Piak! The purple wind snake dragged its severely injured body and used the wind to sweep up the fallen leaves. As it swept through the ground in the forest, They were all shattered by its body. If this continued, it would be able to escape into the depths of the mountains in less than 2 breaths. After seeing the 9-headed demon king being suppressed by the Xianhuang Six Paths Pagoda, the big goblin lost its composure and panicked. It escaped in a precarious situation. Swish! A blinding white light appeared above the 9-headed demon king. Poof! The white light turned into a sword light. Before the purple wind snake could react, the sword light pierced through the 9-headed demon king's body. Hit a snake where it hurts. There were some sayings in the mortal world that made sense. The starry daylight sword suddenly returned to its original starry black appearance. At this moment, it was no longer 3 feet long. Instead, it was almost 3 feet long and almost 2 feet long. The sword pierced through the purple wind serpents 7 inches deep. It pierced through the serpent's body, and a part of it stabbed into the ground. As expected, the starlight sword was like a nail that fell from the sky and firmly nailed the purple wind great snake to the ground. Ayo, ayo! The huge snake cried out in pain. This time it was half dead. It let out a miserable cry. Then, in the blink of an eye, the head suddenly came back to its senses and saw the starry daylight sword. It opened its mouth and spat out a black flying sword. Dang! The flying sword suddenly struck the starry daylight sword. The purple wind monarch's strength was truly terrifying. Even in such a heavily injured state, he was still able to execute such a precise and unexpected attack. However, the starlight sword was a peerless magic treasure that had reached the pinnacle of the mortal world. When it was struck by the black flying sword, the sword aura only shook slightly, and the treasure sword still firmly stabbed the demon body into the ground. It was not affected at all. On the other hand, after the black flying sword stabbed the demon body, it was fiercely bounced back into the sky. Purple Wind Monarch, don't resist. This spiritual sword nailed you here. It only took an instant for it to kill you just now. In midair in front of the huge snake, Su Fong used the shuttling technique and took a step forward. The space shook, and the huge snake was so frightened that it almost spat out its demonic aura. If you really want to die, I can easily take your head off right now. The purple wind monarch trembled and was filled with fear. Who are you? Why do you want to invade my demon territory? I am not a cultivator from the immortal melody world. I am only here to suppress the big goblin. I'm not here to kill you and make you work for me. That old undying tortoise was also suppressed by you. Su Fong sneered indifferently. What do you think? The snake monster trembled, and its demonic aura immediately dissipated. If you can suppress it well, don't kill me. It is not easy for me, the purple shadow monster, to cultivate for 20,000 years. I can surpass the human flying immortal realm in one step and achieve the human dream of ascending to immortality. This is smart. It is easy to kill you, but it is not easy to keep you alive. I need you to assist me in the future to achieve great things. With the true demon blood plate as an imprint, Su Fong used the imprint on the spot and planted it into the purple wind monarch's head. He grabbed with his left hand, and the starry daylight sword that was nailing the purple shadow monster suddenly disappeared. He clapped with his right hand, and the door that the true demon blood plate spat out sucked the purple shadow monster in. This is an extremely powerful big goblin. Its strength is even stronger than the brute force demon king. Killing people is harder than saving people. I suddenly feel that the path of cultivation that Sun Air is pursuing is indeed extremely difficult. Everyone in this world can use their strength, status, and authority to kill people easily. However, if you want to save someone, not killing your own enemy but sparing the other party's life is probably harder than ascending to the heavens. With that in mind, he used wonder again and went back to the void. In a breath's time, he arrived above the Xianhuang Six Paths Pagoda. Immediately, he heard vibrations, ferocious cries, and wails. Standing on the Xianhuang Six Paths Pagoda, he looked down and saw the 9-headed demon king that was suppressed by the Xianhuang Six Paths Pagoda. Its demonic aura had almost dissipated, but its 9 heads were still showing ferocious expressions. It still wanted to attack the Xianhuang Six Paths Pagoda. The nine-headed demon king's strength was heaven-defying. If it was not suppressed, it could still fight with the Xianhuang Six Paths Pagoda. However, now that it was suppressed, even if it had 9 lives, it would not be able to escape from the Xianhuang Six Paths Pagoda suppression. Nine-headed demon king. The purple wind monarch has been suppressed by me. It has obediently submitted to me. Now it is your turn. Go into the artifact space and think carefully. Don't have any more cunning thoughts. If you do, I will not let you go. Rise. Suddenly, he flashed to the side of the 3rd level of the Xianhuang Six Paths Pagoda. Thunder roared and slapped the Xianhuang Six Paths Pagoda. In a flash, the Xianhuang Six Paths Pagoda suppressed the nine-headed demon king and disappeared into his palm. Nine-headed demon king's successful suppression. Su Fong flashed again and appeared beside the divine image jade wall. Below him was the control enchantment released by the Tao artifact. He could clearly see the undying tortoise that was suppressing the ground, as well as Su Jinhua and Li Haojia who were suppressing the demons. Activating the Sky Demon Disintegration Seal, Su Fong separated a large amount of young nascent souls and fused them with the Tao artifact. His majestic voice shook the earth. Big Goblin, stop resisting. Your demon king has been suppressed by me. If you don't want to die, stop resisting. With that, he let you continue controlling the enchantment. Stepping into the interior, he realized that some of the normal Big Goblin had stopped resisting. However, some of the more powerful Big Goblin escaped from the ground and continued to attack the enchantment. It seems like you don't know how powerful I am. Floating within the Tao artifact's enchantment, Su Fong scanned hundreds of Big Goblin. There were even more powerful Big Goblin that escaped from the undying tortoise. He immediately formed a seal. Combination of illusion and reality, divine image seal. His aura and divine aura suddenly fused perfectly with the Tao artifact's enchantment. Along with the power of the world, chains emerged from the void as though they had a life of their own. They shot towards the Big Goblin. How could the Big Goblin be a match for such shackles? They were already severely injured. Now, in less than 3 breaths, all the Big Goblin were bound by the chains. Xianhuang Six Paths Pagoda, a gold and silver pagoda that was close to 300 meters tall, stood above the undying tortoise. The top of the pagoda had fused with the Tao artifact's enchantment. Clang! The first door of the Xianhuang Six Paths Pagoda opened and shot out a boundless aura. Su Fong formed another seal, and close to 1,000 Big Goblins were helplessly sucked into the first level of the pagoda. Master, Brother Fong. After a fierce battle, Su Jinhua and Li Haojia were finally freed and came to Su Fong. While the Xianhuang Six Paths Pagoda was absorbing the Big Goblin, the two of them also sent the Big Goblin they were suppressing into the Xianhuang Six Paths Pagoda. Su Jinhua suppressed more than 200 Big Goblin, and he was still a very powerful existence. Li Haojia, on the other hand, suppressed more than 800 Big Goblins. They were probably the core Big Goblin under the nine-headed Demon King. Half an hour later, the Big Goblin that escaped were all suppressed by the Xianhuang Six Paths Pagoda. I suppressed nearly 2,000 Big Goblin of the nine-headed Demon King, including the Big Goblin suppressed by Brute Force Demon King and Li Haojia. There are now more than 4,000 Big Goblin. That means I have 4,000 small commanders, and their overall strength is much stronger than the 900 small commanders I suppressed before. It's still not enough. Although there are more than 4,000 small commanders, my spiritual power, vital energy, and my support, and his strength has surpassed the Feather Transformation realm and reached the legendary realm of the leaders and old antiques. It's still not enough to deal with the Immortals and the Xinyuan Empire. The Xianhuang Six Paths Pagoda returned to his right palm. Su Fong heaved a sigh of relief. In this short period of time, many images flashed through his mind. Li Haojia said, "There are still more than 1,000 Big Goblins below, and there are many Big Goblins that are very strong. Most of them are heavily injured under the undying tortoise's suppression and can't escape. Some of the Big Goblin are purposely hiding below. That's simple. Their numbers are shocking, but so what if they are heavily injured by the undying tortoise? Their only fate is to be suppressed. Brotherly, rest well. If any big goblin escapes, you can take care of it. Leave the other big goblin to me. Su Fong wanted the two of them to rest. That's not a problem. Moreover, the nine-headed demon king is famous in the immortal melody world. There must be a lot of treasures under the ruins. Li Haojia nodded and revealed a greedy look. Coming in front of the undying tortoise, Su Fong merged perfectly with the power of the celestial image jade wall. Then, he activated the power of the world and the celestial image, causing the space within the barrier to be under his absolute control. The undying tortoise raised its head and said, "Kid, I'm helping you this time. Otherwise, how many big goblin can you suppress with just a few people? Especially the nine-headed demon king." This king was secretly sizing it up. If it wasn't heavily injured by me, you wouldn't be able to defeat it. Unless you use that weird mirror of yours, you won't be able to suppress it. It's all thanks to you. Su Fong dared to admit this in front of the demon tortoise. Then when are you going to cleanse my marrow and break the restraints of my physical body? I'll probably have to wait until I return to the mortal emperor world. I can't do it now. My power doesn't allow me to do it, and I'm not knowledgeable enough. Most importantly, time is the most important thing. I'll let you devour the corpses of the big goblin that you smashed to death. Under Su Fong's instructions, the undying tortoise's 4 feet suddenly shook the ground, causing it to shatter. Then, it rose into the air and was devoured by the immortal light of the Tao artifact. Its huge body disappeared instantly and returned to the space of the celestial image jade wall. Kiki! Roar! The undying tortoise disappeared, and the flattened, nine-headed city suddenly exploded with demonic aura. Everywhere was shaking, and Big Goblin's ferocious cries could be heard. Whoosh! Some of the more powerful Big Goblin took the opportunity to escape in panic. But before they escaped, Su Fong merged perfectly with the Tao artifact. Together with the power of the world and the celestial image, it was as if this space was under his control. Xianwang, 6 Paths Pagoda. Su Fong looked at the sky. 6 layers of gold and silver holy light suddenly appeared. The Xianwang 6 Paths Pagoda, which was 1,000 feet tall, floated above the space. Supreme Celestial Image, be my master. He spread out his arms and stared at the big goblin that flew out from all directions. He spread out his fingers and grabbed at the big goblin with a shocking aura. Chi, 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 chi. He grabbed a large number of Xianguang, which the big goblin could not resist. In the blink of an eye, the big goblin was entangled. Then, the big goblin was pulled into the Xianwang 6 Paths Pagoda by the power of the void. At this moment, hundreds of big goblins that flew out and tried to escape were pulled into the Xianhuang 6 Paths Pagoda by the power of the void. Chapter 735. Nine-Headed City was in ruins. Some of the injured big goblins were instantly suppressed when they saw the powerful big goblin escaping. Their demon aura dissipated as they crawled into the ruins and waited patiently. After 2 hours, Su Fong suppressed a few hundred powerful big goblins. When the dust settled, he arrived above the ruins and saw a few hundred big goblins sitting or lying on the ground. He finally relaxed. Abruptly, Zhongyu activated his control power, and the black-yellow 6 Paths Pagoda flashed over. The pagoda door opened and a suction force gushed out, sucking the great demon into it like a whirlwind. In less than half an hour, finally, there were no more big goblins left alive. In the ruins, there were at least 1,000 big goblin corpses. They were all normal big goblins between the Catastrophe Realm and the Ascension Realm. How could they withstand the undying tortoise's attack? The Tao artifact enchantment suddenly disappeared in front of Su Fong. The divine image, Jade, Annulus also fell into his palm. He then sucked the corpses into the Tao artifact for the undying tortoise to consume. Brother Fong, Li Haojia and Su Jinhua also arrived easily. After nodding, they released a ray of yellow light. It was the nine-headed demon king in human form. It looked very young, about 26 years old. The nine-headed demon king appeared powerlessly. When it saw Su Fong, Su Jinhua, and Li Haojia, it was obviously hostile. But now that it was suppressed, what else could it do? Since you're already in such a state, don't even think about escaping. I can kill you with a single thought. But if you want to kill me, I can easily kill you the moment you think about it. You're also a mutated beast. The power of heaven and earth made you mutate. Wouldn't it be a pity to die like this? Su Fong looked at the nine-headed demon king sternly. Make a seal and find your treasure. 9 nether enchantment. He thought that the nine-headed demon king would hesitate. Unexpectedly, it turned to look at the depths of the ruins and made a seal with its hands. Tut, 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 the ruins began to tremble, and a shocking demonic aura overturned the ground. The ruins were shaken apart, and a demonic array appeared. The nine-headed demon king said helplessly, "These are the treasures that I collected from different places 20,000 years ago." Under Su Fong's Dharma seal, the demonic formation in front of them became transparent. They could see many treasure chests and a large number of Dharma treasures floating inside. There were at least 30,000 of them. As for the other treasures, they were also very rich. For the time being, Su Fong didn't have the time to care about this. He immediately absorbed the treasury into his body. The 3 humans and 1 demon floated in midair. Su Fong looked at the nine-headed demon king and said, "Next time, we are going to the demon cavern continent to deal with the Tongtian demon venerable. He is also a demon king. Don't tell me you don't know." Piercing sky demon venerable. The nine-headed demon king was stunned. If you want to deal with him, it won't be as easy as dealing with me. The Tongtian demon venerable is an anomaly. His original body is a divine arms spirit monkey. His innate intelligence is on par with humans. Hence, he was able to cultivate abhijna since birth. Not only does he know the techniques of the demon race, he also knows the techniques of humans. Su Jinhua cupped his fists. "Master, the Tongtian demon venerable is indeed powerful. He once barged into the immortal melody world, the Tianfeng world, and the spiritual dust world. He entered the human territory and collected their techniques. He even went deep into the immortal primordial world to wreak havoc. Because of his speed and strength, the Doichi once sent people to the immortal melody world to kill him. However, they were all wiped out in the demon cavern continent." "That's good. I was just worried that he wasn't strong enough." However, Su Fong did not change his mind. The Tongtian demon venerable's original body is a divine arms spirit monkey. He was born with a pair of arms that were extremely strong. Just his arms alone are as strong as a king-grade Dharma treasure. In addition to his abhijna cultivation, his speed, and Dharma treasures, his strength is naturally terrifying, the nine-headed demon king explained. It was obvious that he was interested in Su Fong's idea of defeating the heavenly demon venerable. Su Fong looked at him. "Then after suppressing the Tongtian demon venerable, we will return to the human sovereign world. This big goblin's physical body is very strong. He is even stronger than the undying tortoise. Undying tortoise, the divine armed spirit monkey, is naturally not as strong as the undying tortoise." When the undying tortoise was mentioned, the nine-headed demon king trembled. Wasn't it because of the undying tortoise that the nine-headed city was destroyed and the nine-headed demon venerable was suppressed? When you return to the Dharma treasure, I will bring you resources that contain the power of immortals. You can recuperate and cultivate. After keeping the nine-headed demon king in the Xianhuang Six Paths Pagoda, the 3 of them flew towards the other side of the continent. Half a day later, the 3 of them stepped into the demon cavern continent. However, they did not look for the Tongtian demon venerable immediately. Since the enemy was such a strong opponent, Su Fong felt that he should cultivate with Li Haojia and Su Jinhua for a while before heading out. "When I was with the brute force demon king, I suppressed more than 1,000 big goblins. Li Haojia also brought back a few hundred big goblins. In addition to the 3,000 small commanders that the nine-headed demon king suppressed, I now have more than 5,000 small commanders in a dense forest. The 3 of them were cultivating at different locations within the enchantment. Su Fong gave Su Jinhua and Li Haojia impotence pills that contained the blood of immortals. He also released his consciousness into the Xianhuang Six Paths Pagoda. It took him more than a year to suppress the 5,000 small commanders. He also gave the 5,000 impotence pills that contained the power of immortals to the big goblin for cultivation and recuperation. The brute force demon king, Purple Feng Jun, and the nine-headed demon king enjoyed even more. In order to let them recover quickly, Su Feng released the Xianhuang Six Paths Pagoda from his body. Because it was his natal treasure, Su Feng felt that something was missing from his body. Although the Xianhuang Six Paths Pagoda had not reached the ultimate fusion with Su Feng, it was still one with him. Hence, he was not used to it. The Xianhuang Six Paths Pagoda stood in an open space surrounded by a forest. The six doors were all open, absorbing the natural spiritual qi. This spiritual qi was then absorbed by the 5,000 big goblin. Su Jinhua's fusion with the essence refining immortal pearl is indeed faster than the third prince. Su Feng could cultivate in peace. He cut many wounds on his body and took out 2 immortal fruits that he obtained from the Xinjia door. He cut them into countless pieces and planted them into his wounds. Suddenly, he felt a strong divine origin scripture and the origin of the Xinyuan Empire being released. He looked over and saw that Su Jinhua was cultivating the essence refining immortal pearl. Su Jinhua, the former crown prince Jinhua, had a high status in the Xinyuan Empire and was called the second crown prince. As a mortal, he was definitely a genius to become a member of the imperial family. As expected, he had already fused with a third of the essence refining immortal pearl, surpassing the third prince. Furthermore, his cultivation was not much different from the third prince. He had surpassed the Ascension Transformation realm and became a true expert of small world. It would be strange if the crown prince of a peerless empire did not have the strength of the Grand Elder, or even the Grand Elder. I also have to guard against Su Jinhua using a Dao item to attack the seal in his body. After all, a Dao item is hard to control. Seeing this, he was happy, but also worried. He was happy because Su Jinhua had such a genius and would become his right-hand man in the future to deal with the Xinyuan Empire. What he was worried about was not Su Jinhua himself, but that Su Jinhua would use the Dao item's power to secretly struggle against the seal. Although he had a Dao artifact, it was impossible for him to escape from Su Feng's senses if he wanted to break free from the shackles. It was still best to be cautious. During this period, he used his body to devour many immortal fruits and obtained many resources. However, the things that were truly useful to him were the immortal fruits and immortal energy. His strength was constantly increasing. Su Feng had been fusing with the Zhuotian realm's world essence spirit vein and the other small world's origin stones. In the depths of the 8 yang meridians, the Star River's world energy became deeper and deeper. The treasures that Prince Shui painstakingly collected over the years all ended up benefiting me. In addition to the world essence spirit vein under Immortal Toad's old immortal cave, the Zhuotian realm's origin that I have is constantly increasing. Offending Master He Yun is the same as offending Zhuotian realm. Master He Yun and many experts are probably looking for me all over the world because I was the only one who escaped from Xinjia Gate twice. Since Zhuotian realm is my enemy, after I have absolute control over the human emperor world, the next small world I will seize is Zhuotian realm. Another long period of time passed. Su Feng calmly cultivated. He was also planning what he should do in the future, what goals he should have, and what preparations he should make for his goals. With a goal, he would have the motivation to cultivate and overcome difficulties, to become a realm lord. This was his previous goal. His current goal was to be like the Xinyuan Empire's royal family, to become the Star River's overlord of small world. To become the Star River's overlord, he must seize a few small worlds. Chi-Chi's pupils and defensive aura suddenly appeared like an electric current. I have finally reached the peak of 8th layer calamity. It is time to break through to 9th layer calamity. After getting up, Su Feng left his intent to Li Haojie and Su Jinhua. Then, he took the Xianhuang Six Paths Pagoda and flew towards the depths of the earth. 2 hours later, he arrived at the depths of a desolate plateau. There wasn't much Yao-Chi here. Even the big goblin wouldn't come to such a barren place. You are Xiaoxing. This time, you will be in charge of protecting me. As for the heavenly tribulation, you don't have to worry. With my strength, entering the 9th layer of calamity won't be a problem. While casting the barrier, a magic treasure light flew out from each of his palms. The divine image, jade, annulus, and the starlight sword were hidden on both sides of the barrier, protecting Su Fang. If there was an accident, the Tao artifact and the starlight sword could definitely protect Su Fang. At the same time, the divine image, jade, annulus spat out a boundless immortal light. The undying tortoise was like a mountain. It appeared in the center of the 4 mountain ridges, just 100 meters away from Su Fang's barrier. You're about to undergo the tribulation. The undying tortoise saw Su Fang's formation and the shocking heavenly tribulation aura coming from his body. It immediately understood. Su Fang said in the air, "Prepare yourself. When I undergo the tribulation, I will control a small portion of the heavenly tribulation to attack your body and cleanse your marrow. But you have to control how the heavenly tribulation cleanses your marrow. I'm about to undergo the tribulation, so I can't control how the heavenly tribulation affects your body. I understand. I have to control it myself." Then the undying tortoise faced the barrier. Soon, Su Fang released his surging true qi, summoning the heavenly tribulation. The heavenly tribulation was like 10,000 horses galloping. 100 beasts madly condensed in the sky above the plateau, forming a vast world of dark clouds. There's even more heavenly lightning and earthly fire. Heavenly lightning and earthly fire usually appear during the tribulation from the tribulation realm to the ascension realm. I'm really unlucky. I'm only in the tribulation realm, but I have to face heavenly lightning and earthly fire again and again. I wonder how big the difference is between this heavenly lightning and earthly fire compared to the legendary heavenly tribulation that only giants like the Lord of 5 Poisons face. In a breath, the first wave of the heavenly tribulation immediately descended. It was a heavenly tribulation storm. Su Fang leaped into the air and came to the barrier. He looked at the first wave of heavenly tribulation and used the power of the world to form 2 large golden palm prints. With a bang, the large palm print on his left hand hit the first wave of heavenly tribulation. The large palm print on his right hand swept across and actually grabbed a storm of heavenly tribulation power that was 10 feet tall. Then, he suddenly looked at the undying tortoise that was 100 meters away. Chapter 736. The heavenly tribulation that cultivators and demons were afraid of was easily handled by Su Fang, as if it was a kind of magical power. Qi. The 5 fingers of his right hand rolled the storm of heavenly tribulation in the air like a giant, rolling towards the undying tortoise. Su Fang dealt with the heavenly tribulation and looked forward to the next scene casually. With this level of heavenly tribulation, it can kill cultivators below the 5th level of the feather transformation realm. It shouldn't be able to hurt the undying tortoise whose strength exceeds the feather transformation realm. The heavenly tribulation cleanse the body. This was probably something only demons could do. Humans couldn't withstand this force of nature. Sizzle. The power of the storm of heavenly tribulation seemed small, but it was nothing in front of the undying tortoise's body. It hit the left side of the undying tortoise, but it immediately set off dazzling sparks of heavenly tribulation, turning into a torrent of destructive heavenly tribulation power. The undying tortoise didn't move much, but its eyeballs were emitting more demon qi. In less than a few breaths, the storm of heavenly tribulation completely disappeared from the undying tortoise's body. The parts that were hit, whether it was the tortoise shell or the skin, emitted a burst of green smoke. The demon tortoise's cold voice sounded, "Kid, this heavenly tribulation is not strong enough. Give me more." This was as Su Fang expected. The undying tortoise's body was extraordinary. If this heavenly tribulation could do anything to it, then it wouldn't be a heaven-defying monster with a lifespan of 600,000 years. At this time, the first heavenly tribulation also slowly disappeared under Su Fang's absolute strength. The second heavenly tribulation that followed had a very powerful heavenly thunder. Moreover, Su Fang appeared around the heavenly thunder and some tribulation fire that didn't seem to belong to the second heavenly tribulation appeared. Yuer's thought came to his mind. Master, you blasphemed the heavenly tribulation by hitting the undying tortoise with the heavenly tribulation power. The power of the heavenly tribulation you will have to bear next should be twice as strong as this. I see. When cultivators undergo heavenly tribulation, they can't ask experts to directly interfere with the heavenly tribulation, because they are afraid of this scene. At this time, he knew how dangerous it was to help the undying tortoise's body. He still struck out with his palm and grabbed the second heavenly tribulation with his 5 fingers. A large amount of tribulation fire, carrying a strange black silk-like aura, continued to pounce towards Su Fang. Fortunately, he had also used his defenses to resist the attack of the tribulation fire. He didn't expect the tribulation fire to be much more powerful than the second heavenly tribulation. It burned his defenses until they were on the verge of collapse. With his right hand, he forcefully grabbed a bolt of heavenly tribulation that was mainly composed of heavenly thunder and struck it towards the undying turtle. Shurja this time, a part of the undying tortoise's body was struck by the heavenly lightning. The electric current covered 1/3 of the undying tortoise's body. It looked very fierce. The undying tortoise also spoke. It was still not affected much, but it said something that made Su Fang's scalp go numb. External attacks won't work. Lord Tortoise's body is too tough. It's better to suck it into your body through your mouth and let the heavenly tribulation directly attack your body from the inside. Devouring tribulation woo a gust of chilly wind, even more frightening than the heavenly tribulation, suddenly assaulted the Su Fang. Since the undying tortoise could withstand it, he would do his best to help. After the second wave of heavenly tribulation was forcefully neutralized, the third wave was an even more astonishing heavenly lightning. The heavenly lightning tribulation was also surrounded by even darker heavenly tribulation flames. Su Fang still used his big palm print to attack the heavenly lightning, but the power of the surrounding black heavenly tribulation was stronger than before. Twice as much when it landed on the defense. It directly shattered the layers of defense. For Su Fang, the consumption of true qi was naturally twice as much. If it were an ordinary cultivator, would they still be able to survive such a powerful heavenly tribulation? Therefore, ordinary cultivators would not be willing to help others transcend the tribulation. Not only would they be attacked by the heavenly tribulation, but the person transcending the tribulation would also die. Under the pressure of the 5 fingers, the heavenly lightning stripped from the heavenly tribulation slapped towards the undying tortoise, which had already opened its mouth and spat out an absolute shackle suction force. Shurja, the heavenly tribulation was very delicate, as if it was piercing through the air. The undying tortoise opened its mouth and swallowed. Immediately, its huge head was filled with lightning and tribulation qi. Soon, some electric luster appeared in its body. Some black and green smoke seeped out from under the undying tortoise's shell. It felt like the undying tortoise was being barbecued by the heavenly tribulation, and its vitality was so fierce that it was completely burnt. Grandpa, this is really exciting. It's just that this Lord Tortoise has a hard time controlling the heavenly tribulation. It surges into my body in a short period of time, and there are too many meridians around my body. The meridians in my body are 10,000 times that of a human's. Kid, continue. Give me something fiercer. When the undying tortoise opened its mouth, it spat out a black smoke ring. It didn't seem to be affected much, and it continued to shout proudly. After Su Fang nodded, he shattered the 3rd heavenly tribulation and began to welcome the 4th heavenly tribulation. The following heavenly tribulations from the 4th to the 8th were all passed in the same way. When it came to the 9th heavenly tribulation, some impurities seeped out from the undying tortoise's body, just like a human. It seemed that the cleansing of the heavenly tribulation did help it to a certain extent. The ninth heavenly tribulation was also the last heavenly tribulation. Once it was past, Su Fong would be able to step into the ninth heavenly tribulation from the eighth heavenly tribulation. He would only be a step away from the peak of the 10th heavenly tribulation. Suddenly, a large lightning tribulation storm descended from the sky. This lightning tribulation storm was not the ninth heavenly tribulation, but the punishment for Su Fong's blasphemy against the will of the heavenly tribulation. The 9 burning black flames in the center were the real 9 heavenly tribulations. This time, Su Fong not only activated the giant palm print, but also released the yin-yang Rakshasa sword. He immediately attacked the 8 black flames. The giant palm print grabbed the 9th heavenly tribulation, and a part of the palm print on his right hand was peeled off. He hurriedly slapped the undying tortoise in the air. He activated the yin-yang Rakshasa sword again. His whole body was covered in cold sweat. This time, he attacked the terrifying lightning tribulation storm that surrounded the 9 heavenly tribulation. Tut 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 above Su Fong. The yin-yang Rakshasa sword suddenly confronted the 9 heavenly tribulation and the lightning tribulation storm head-on. Fortunately, he was a leapfrog, and his strength was far beyond the 8th heavenly tribulation. Otherwise, if he was just an ordinary feather transformation realm cultivator, he would definitely die. The heavenly tribulation was blocked, and Su Fong looked at the undying tortoise again. This time, the heavenly tribulation that the undying tortoise faced was almost as strong as Su Fong's, but it was even more unlucky. The will of the heavenly tribulation attacked Su Fong, but it insisted on attracting the heavenly tribulation, so the will of the heavenly tribulation had to completely explode. In addition to the tortoise shell, a lot of heavenly tribulation light appeared around its body. It was not too dazzling. The undying tortoise dared to swallow the heavenly tribulation. It also opened its mouth and constantly breathed out smoke rings. It probably gave others the impression that the undying tortoise had swallowed a piece of the sky curtain, and the sky curtain was inside its body. It was as fast as lightning, exploding natural disasters. Su Fong could be considered to have really learned something. Using the heavenly tribulation to baptize, it was rumored, but it was not necessarily something that could happen. He saw it with his own eyes, and it was the big goblin that directly swallowed the great tribulation into its body. This kind of marrow-cleansing method should have been unprecedented. Pa paying less than half an incense sticks time, the 9th heavenly tribulation was shattered by Su Fong in the air. Su Fong suddenly shouted, "Undying tortoise, come here." After the tribulation, there will be a lot of tribulation power. You can swallow it into your body and combine it with the demon aura to attack your body. Wait, the undying tortoise probably didn't feel good either. Its body was black and constantly emitted green smoke. Although it seemed to be moving slowly, it suddenly jumped up. It's over. The undying tortoise soared into the air. Su Fong seemed to have seen the scene of the attack on Ninehead City. He hurriedly dodged. The pitiful formation instantly shattered as the undying tortoise landed. He flashed onto the undying tortoise's back. As expected, the aura of the tribulation and some spiritual light did not seem to be much at first. Soon, it surged towards Su Fong at 100 times the speed. Su Fong was startled. He suddenly understood. It seems that blaspheming the heavenly tribulation will strengthen it. And if you enter the tribulation's spiritual aura, it will naturally cause the heavenly tribulation to send more tribulation power. It's all mutual. The undying tortoise did not care so much. It opened its mouth and swallowed the tribulation spiritual aura. Su Fong sat cross-legged on the undying tortoise and also absorbed the tribulation's spiritual aura. For a human and a demon to undergo tribulation like this, it could be considered unique in this small world. In less than a day, the tribulation's spiritual aura disappeared, and the heavenly tribulation also retreated. Su Fong heaved a sigh of relief. Undying tortoise, you will be my commander in the future. Hurry up and cultivate. If you can achieve a human form, you can enter the Xianhuang Six Paths Pagoda. The undying tortoise was unhappy below. You are too weak. If you didn't have a treasure to suppress me, how could you have done anything to me? You couldn't even do anything to the nine-headed demon king. Brat, don't blow your own trumpet. Strength can't be obtained in a short period of time. You have lived for hundreds of thousands of years to get to where you are today, and I have only cultivated for 400 years. In less than 1,000 years, I will completely surpass you. Are you bragging again? Don't disturb me. You are really thick-skinned demon tortoise. Next, I will give you an immortal's blood essence. Take the opportunity to combine it with the tribulation spiritual aura to strengthen your physical body. Su Fong grabbed a streak of bright red blood aura. It emitted a strange, immortal light. As he pointed with his right hand, it quickly flew towards the undying tortoise's head. He also took out an immortal fruit. In the end, before he could eat it, the undying tortoise saw it and stretched out its hand to ask for it. Su Fong shook his head. This is a great world's immortal fruit. You can't melt it. The undying tortoise was not polite at all. What kind of body does Lord Tortoise have? So many treasures and spirit stones have been digested in my stomach. Helplessly, it gave a fruit. It's not enough. Your body is only the size of sesame seed, and you want to swallow 2 immortal fruits. My demon body is many times bigger than yours. I need at least 10. You might as well rob me. If I could rob you, Lord Tortoise would have done so long ago. Then why are you still talking about this immortal fruit? Look at the immortal melody world, the spiritual dust world, and the heaven trial world. How many can you find? I risked my life to get this from the Xinjia Gate. You have to give me 1 credit. Giving you 1 fruit is already good enough. If I want 10, you have to give me 10 credits. Let Lord Tortoise eat it first. I will deal with you later. After some hesitation, in the end, Su Fong could only watch as the 10 immortal fruits were sucked in by the undying tortoise's shackling power. After the undying tortoise swallowed the immortal fruits, its body no longer emitted green smoke. It seemed that the immortal fruits were too miraculous. The undying tortoise said happily, "Kid, find more immortal fruits in the future. This is even better than the heavenly tribulation cleansing. If you can give Lord Tortoise a lot of these immortal fruits, then Lord Tortoise will personally help you snatch that Zhuotian world or primordial god world. In short, both small worlds will help you snatch them. You're daydreaming. I'm empty-handed. How can I help you snatch a white wolf out of thin air?" He ignored the undying tortoise. This old fellow was truly insatiable. No wonder it had swallowed so many treasures in its stomach, causing the spiritual bead to be unable to grow stronger. 2 words. Serves it right. After swallowing a large amount of energy, the destruction of his physical body had already ended. He welcomed the shocking physical strength of the 9th layer Calamity Realm. At this moment, his great circle abilities and physical strength had undergone a great transformation. His vision and hearing could already cover thousands of miles. It was truly shocking. Oh, the blood threads of the Black Lotus true body in my body have all reached the level of silk. They are even thicker than silk and are the size of silver needles. As his physical body continued to cultivate and gave birth to power, Su Fong began to fully control his physical body. The biggest change was the Black Lotus true body. It was not vitality, but the blood threads that connected his flesh, meridians, and bones. His entire body was densely covered in blood threads. Even his eyeballs were covered in them. When Su Fong had fought with the 3rd Crown Prince, all his meridians had been shattered. It was the blood threads of the Black Lotus true body that had played a life-saving role and replaced his meridians. All his blood energy, true qi, and strength had been circulated through the blood threads, allowing Su Fong to recover. Chapter 737. Black Lotus True Body. This was one of the reasons why 7 Star Child came down. He didn't hesitate to come down to the mortal world to kill Su Fong and take back his body. This showed how incredible the Black Lotus True Body was. Su Fong continued to stare at the Black Lotus blood threads in the depths of his body. They were densely packed like needles, connecting his flesh, bones, meridians, true chi, and even his skin to form a perfect black lotus true body. In ancient times, among the humans who focused on body cultivation, this perfect black lotus true body was probably one of the best. Currently, the true chi flow in the black lotus blood threads is less than 1,000th of the body's meridians. If these blood threads become thicker in the future, my overall cultivation speed will rise to a terrifying level. It can even replace the meridians, the life bridge of the body. 7-star child, you didn't hesitate to come down to the lower realm to take back the black lotus true body. I won't let you do as you wish. You're an immortal, and you think you can control everything. You're probably still looking for me in the Jua Tian realm, the Wu Tan realm, and even the spirit mist realm. You don't know that I'm growing stronger step by step in this distant galaxy. Su Fang's body was burning with confidence. His strength was close to the normal state of the 9th layer catastrophe. The righteous energy of heaven and earth kept surging. Under the control of his world power and divine might, even the natural energy of the immortal melody realm was 10 times stronger than ordinary people. It was condensed and absorbed into his body. The undying turtle's demon chi was on the verge of bursting out. It also contained a lot of immortal chi. The biggest difference between the undying turtle and before was that the demon chi in its aura was more ethereal, with a trace of immortal chi. Obviously, the immortal fruit and immortal chi were condensing in its body and cultivating a stronger spiritual pearl. The biggest problem now was the body. Thinking of this problem and knowing the undying turtle situation, he wanted it to transform into a human body as soon as possible. Otherwise, if such a big body entered the divine image jade wall, it would bring a certain amount of pressure to the Tao artifact. Su Fang secretly contacted Li Haojia. Brotherly, can you help me see if there's a great demon cultivation technique that's suitable for the undying tortoise? You've seen how powerful it is. In the future, it can help you and me with anything. The latter nodded, and in the depths of the forest on the other side, he was probably busy looking for cultivation methods. His strength grew stronger step by step. During this time, Su Fang also began to cultivate various magical powers. Holy Emperor Divine Origin Scripture, Bloody Hell Wolf Smoke, Illusory Fire Cloud, Giant Diamond Body, 9 Suns 9 Changes, Heavenly Demon Book, Heavenly Demon Disintegration Seal, Human Emperor Supreme Technique, Ethereal Myriad Laws Tao, Limitless Tao Art. When he cultivated the Heavenly Demon Scripture, the young infant would automatically follow the Heavenly Demon Disintegration Seal and split into thousands of young infants. They would continuously split and shrink. Su Fang's Heavenly Demon Manual's late-stage cultivation method seemed to contain other supernatural powers, such as the Heavenly Demon Disintegration Seal's offensive supernatural power. Depending on the cultivator, any cultivation method would result in different results. The Tianma Tome was originally the devil race's mental cultivation method, but when it fell into Su Fang's hands, combined with the power of the righteous path and the devil path, a lot of unpredictable changes took place. This transformation, at least for now, was not bad, except for the Nightmare Demon Blood transformation. The appearance of the Nightmare Devil Blood transformation was not only because of the demonic book, but also because of the power of the demonic Tao. However, the most important thing was Su Fang's own willpower. If one's willpower could control one's self at any time and place, why would one be in danger of falling into the devil path? He split off a young infant and sent it into the Xianhuang Six Paths Pagoda. More than 5,000 junior commanders were in the midst of cultivation. Most of them were severely injured. Even if the big goblin was not injured, it would not be easy for it to merge with the power of the immortals. Su Fang went directly in front of the brute force demon king and the 9-headed demon king. Master, the 2 demon kings bowed respectfully. It seemed that the 9-headed demon king had accepted the fact that he was being suppressed. Cultivate well, and also warn the big goblin below to serve me loyally. Resources like the immortals will be given to you in the future. This is much better than cultivating on your own. I will not treat those who are loyal to me as slaves. Those who have thoughts of rebellion are my enemies. 9-headed demon king, This natal magic treasure of mine is close to a Tao artifact. It is between a king-grade magic treasure and a Tao artifact. It has a total of 6 levels, and each level can contain 100,000 junior commanders. 100,000 junior commanders, but only about 5,000 big goblin. It is far from enough. This is the reason why I came to the immortal melody world. The big goblin that I'm going to deal with next is the peerless expert of the demon cavern continent, the sky-piercing demon venerable. This demon's prowess is well known in the immortal melody world. If you cooperate with me to suppress this demon, I will use the Tao artifact on you to cultivate. I will find out the flaws in your body and allow you to cultivate faster. I estimate that you have already surpassed the ascension realm and are close to ascending. With the help of my Tao artifact, you will be able to ascend to the great world in 1,000 years. In front of the brute force demon king and the 9-headed demon king, Su Fang's tone was intimidating at first, but it became calmer later on. However, this calmness made the 9-headed demon king tremble. This was because Su Fang could see clearly where it hurt. Although it was a peerless big goblin, if not for the undying tortoise, Su Fang would not be able to suppress it. With its strength, even if Su Fang used the mixed essence sacred state, it would still be difficult for him to suppress it in terms of speed. Therefore, the 9-headed demon king was not satisfied from the moment it was suppressed. But when it heard that Su Fang had the thing that it needed the most, it naturally changed its mind. Who did not want to ascend to the great world? This simple reason was enough for the 9-headed demon king to serve Su Fang loyally. The 9-headed demon king said, "Master, the Tongtian demon venerable is indeed powerful. His overall strength is not much different from mine. However, in the demon cavern continent, he controls close to 10,000 big goblin experts. Most importantly, he is allied with the other big goblins in the demon cavern continent. If we do not suppress him quickly, once the other demon kings come, we will not be able to suppress the Tongtian demon venerable." Su Fang chuckled. His laughter was unsettling. He has more than 10,000 big goblin under his command. More than 10,000 big goblins, and this is still considered a small number. The Tongtian demon venerable is so powerful in the demon cavern continent. If he were to summon big goblin, tens of thousands of big goblins would not be a problem. Let me think. This way, I will be able to think of a better way to deal with this demon. Master, to deal with such a big goblin, a direct confrontation will not work. If 10,000 big goblins attack together, the few of us will not be able to withstand it. We can only think of other ways to deal with it. It seemed like the 9-headed demon king really wanted to serve Su Fang from now on. He started to give suggestions to Su Fang. After a moment of silence, Su Fang said, "Have you interacted with the Tongtian demon venerable?" The 9-headed demon king said, "Many times. In the 3 continents, the demon kings would visit each other from time to time. The demon kings in the immortal melody world are quite united. I'm also one of the strongest big goblin kings in the Wuhan continent. Whenever the Tongtian demon venerable steps into the Wuhan continent, he will have to meet us big goblin. Conversely, when I go to the demon cavern continent, I will have to meet the Tongtian demon venerable." Su Fang suddenly looked to the side. "That's good. Demon King Brute Force, tell me how I used King Luo Shan to suppress you." The Brute Force Demon King, who had been waiting obediently, was suddenly stunned. When he saw Su Fang's gaze, he unwillingly told him how he was suppressed. "Master, you mean to do what King Luo Shan did? Get close to the Tongtian demon venerable and launch a sneak attack?" The 9-headed demon king was indeed a peerless big goblin. He immediately understood Su Fang's intention. "You're not very close to the Tongtian demon venerable, but you still visit him often. You can visit his territory and find the best opportunity to deal with him together." Su Fang had a rough idea of what to do. The Tongtian demon venerable is very strong. However, if we work together, I am confident that we can suppress him. In fact, I want to suppress the tens of thousands of big goblin under him. This is even more difficult than suppressing the Tongtian demon venerable. Suppressing tens of thousands of big goblin? How difficult was it? The 9-headed demon king said gloomily, "Master, you can use the same method you used on my nine-head city to deal with the Tongtian demon venerable. The undying tortoise is invulnerable. Even magic treasures cannot harm it. Using it to launch a sneak attack on tens of thousands of big goblin is definitely the best method. I have thought of this method before. Once the undying tortoise launches a sneak attack on any enchantment or city, it will destroy everything. However, I am thinking that if the big goblin under the Tongtian demon venerable is not concentrated in one city, but spread out, even if the undying tortoise attacks, it will only be able to subdue a portion of them. I didn't think of that. I have a certain understanding of the sky-piercing demon Exalted's territory. Indeed, because the sky-piercing demon Exalted is too powerful, his territory is naturally much larger than my nine-headed city. Continue to cultivate. When we reach the Tongtian demon venerable, we will think of a solution. Perhaps everything will be solved when we reach there. After the order was given, Su Fang's young infant immediately returned to his original body. He then checked the condition of his physical body. It was almost at the normal state of a ninth-tier catastrophe. In addition, he had cultivated many supernatural powers. His current strength was more than twice as strong as when he took back the mortal emperor world. In other words, if he faced the elders of heaven and earth with his ninth-tier catastrophe cultivation, he would be able to kill them without being injured. If he faced a third prince, he would still not be a match for the thunder elemental power from the great world. However, he could kill the third prince with his strength. If he encountered Heartless Granny again, he would probably be killed by Heartless Granny in less than 3 moves. In order to be more confident in dealing with the Tongtian demon venerable and suppressing the large number of big goblin under his command, Su Fang took out the power of immortals and gave it to thousands of junior commanders, especially the 9-headed demon king, the brute force demon king, and the purple wind serpent. Unknowingly, 3 years passed in the blink of an eye. When Su Fang saw that his strength had reached the normal state of a 9th-tier catastrophe, he absorbed the immortal turtle into the jade annulus and called back the starry daylight sword. He immediately disappeared. When he came to the formation where Su Jinhua and Li Haojia were cultivating, he saw that the two's aura was like a rainbow. Su Jinhua's cultivation had already reached the ascendant transformation realm, the same level as the old antiques. Su Fang released his will and had the two slowly stop cultivating. While waiting, he secretly asked, "Little star, the realm above the ascendant transformation realm is the flying immortal realm." Yuer could not answer this question. Only the non-poisonous true Qi and the original soul of the Starry Daylight Sword could give Su Fang a satisfactory answer. Especially Little Star. It was a magic treasure from 1,000,000 years ago, so it understood the small world very well. Little Star appeared in the divine aperture and turned into a black sword. Mortal cultivation starts from the basic Qi Eater realm, then step by step into the flesh embryo realm, secret path realm, Dharma cave realm, divine ability realm, vast core realm, heavenly union realm, longevity realm, undead realm, young infant realm, catastrophe realm, ascendant realm. Not counting the Qi Eater realm, there are a total of 12 realms. In ancient times, the Qi Eater realm was the most basic cultivation. In modern times, the majority of mortal cultivation is done by cultivators who consecrate and cleanse the marrow of mortals. They can easily lead mortals to the door of cultivation. The beginning is the flesh embryo realm, the cultivation of the body. Chapter 738. Little Star continued. In terms of cultivation, the flesh embryo realm is the foundation, and the feather transformation realm is the final realm. In the eyes of many cultivators, the feather transformation realm represents ascension to immortality. The meaning of feather transformation is to shed the mortal body of a mortal. After this realm is the flying celestial realm that Master mentioned. There's a reason why Little Star did not include the Qi Eater realm and the flying celestial realm in the 12 realms. The Qi Eater realm is only a type of breathing cultivation for mortals and is not considered true cultivation. As for the flying celestial realm, it is no longer considered a mortal, but a half-immortal. Half-immortal is easy to understand. It means that a cultivator has one foot in the mortal world and the other foot in the outside world, and is in between the two realms. The final tribulation of the feather transformation realm is the heavenly lightning, earthly fire. After passing it, it is the flying celestial realm. The flying celestial realm has a total of 3 realms, known as the first path calamity, second path calamity, and third path calamity. Because entering the flying celestial realm, one has to face the doomsday calamity. Moreover, one has to pass 3 calamities, known as the third path calamity. Facing these 3 calamities, who knows how many cultivators will be turned into ashes? For example, Su Zhenhua has just passed the heavenly lightning, earthly fire, and stepped into the first path calamity of the flying celestial realm. He has not passed the first path calamity. In this small world, many old antiques and even a small number of great elders are in between the feather transformation realm and the first path calamity of the flying celestial realm. Because they're stuck in the flying celestial realm, they do not have the confidence to deal with the doomsday calamity. At this point, Little Star closed his mouth. Su Fang's young infant deeply recalled Little Star's description of the realms. Cultivators had to face the 12th realm, from a flesh embryo realm to the feather transformation realm. He did not expect that even if he stepped into the feather transformation realm, it was not the final realm. There was still the flying celestial realm that trapped countless old antiques. Su Fang only came back to his senses after a long while. According to you, most of the supreme martial artists and big shots in the small world are between the feather transformation realm and the flying celestial realm. Isn't the difference in strength between the third level of the flying celestial realm extremely shocking? Of course. Back then, the old master Evil Lord's cultivation was at the flying immortal realm with 2 Tao of calamity. His strength was already the supreme of the small world. Being able to reach the flying immortal realm with 3 Tao of calamity is the final realm of the mortal realm. Having 3 Tao of calamity is equivalent to being an immortal in the small world. That Su Zhenhua has already reached the first Tao of calamity, but he still needs many years of cultivation to reach the peak of the first Tao of calamity and then pass the doomsday Tao of calamity to reach the second Tao of calamity. According to Little Star's words, the 2 elders of heaven and earth, the third prince, Tai Ho Wang, Qin Yuan Ho, Su Zhenhua, Elder He Zun, Elder Hong Lian, and Elder Canghao are probably at the first or second Tao of calamity. I didn't expect that there would be such a clear difference in strength between them in the same realm. At this moment, Su Fang's heart trembled slightly. Then with my cultivation at the 9th level of the calamity realm, my strength should be at the 9th level of the feather transformation realm. If I activate my life, source, treasure, and the power of the world, I estimate that I can reach the peak of the 10th level of the feather transformation realm. Finally, if I activate my Tao artifact, my overall strength just happens to have the strength of a normal Tao of calamity. After comparing, he had a rough outline of his strength. Su Fang communicated with Little Star again. There was once a senior called the Lord of 5 Poisons. He said that he had passed the final Tao of calamity. Could it be that he was at the 3rd level of the calamity realm? Little Star immediately nodded. The final Tao of calamity realm is the doomsday Tao of calamity realm. That means that this Lord of 5 Poisons is an invincible existence in this small world. Apart from immortals, no one can surpass him. Even if immortals descend, they might not be able to truly suppress a powerhouse at the 3rd level of the calamity realm. So the sect master is actually this powerful. Master, the flying immortal realm has 3 Tao of calamity realm. Even if they are all at the 1st level of the calamity realm, there are still different levels. The flying immortal realm is different from other realms. It seems like there are only 3 realms, but it's just condensing the previous 10 realms into one realm. Therefore, if they're all at the 1st level of the calamity realm, then there is a clear difference in strength between these cultivators. I understand now. It seems that only when I step into the feather transformation realm can my strength truly reach the 1st level of the calamity realm, which is the height of those old antiques. He suddenly understood. After a while, Su Zhenhua, and Lihaojia came to meet up. The three of them did not speak much and immediately flew towards the demon cavern continent. During this time, Su Fang also learned more about the sky-piercing demon Venerable from the nine-headed demon king. Because the sky-piercing demon Venerable was a divine armed spirit monkey, he could grasp many divine abilities like a human. Therefore, his territory was not like the nine-headed city. It was called the sky-piercing demon world. The sky-piercing demon world was created by the sky-piercing demon Venerable using a large number of formations. In reality, it was like the boundary of a cultivation sect. The inside of the demon world was a space created by a large number of formations. Therefore, it was called the sky-piercing demon world. This also showed how powerful the sky-piercing demon Venerable was. With such control over divine abilities, was he still a big goblin? Even Immortal Toad, Sky Drill Rat Emperor, and Daozhan Fox Mother were far from him. He had to suppress such a big goblin. Less than 2 hours later, in front of the three of them, a mountain range surrounded by clouds appeared. At the foot of the mountain, a large river was dug out and a high wall was built. That was because this mountain range was the sky-piercing demon Venerable's sky-piercing demon world. Looking around the mountain range, there were thousands of big goblins in the forest. They were all at the Tribulation and Ascension realms, and they weren't even the sky-piercing demon Venerable's subordinates. Su Jinhua sighed. The sky-piercing demon Venerable is too powerful. No wonder even when the Doichi sent experts here, they were unable to kill it. Unless the Doichi sent over 10,000 cultivators, as well as many old antiques, they would be able to completely deal with the sky-piercing demon Venerable. But even that wouldn't work. If the other demon kings came to help, the Doichi still wouldn't be able to do anything to it. Brother Fong, it'll be even more difficult this time. Lihaojia was also a bit moved. The scene made it seem like the three of them were trying to shake this mountain range with their tiny bodies. Was this even possible? The shock it brought was naturally indescribable. Let's follow our plan and do it step by step. You two enter my life treasure first. I'll sneak in and take a look. Su Fang decisively activated the Xian Guang, allowing Lihaojia and Su Jinhua to enter the 6th layer of the Xianwang Six Paths Pagoda. Using the ethereal true scripture, Su Fang controlled the clouds, perfectly concealing his aura. He followed the clouds over the river and into the forest. Once they entered the forest, Su Fang activated his wood attribute abilities. His left arm pressed against a large tree, and his body was immediately filled with wood energy. Furthermore, when he touched a large tree, he would perfectly transform into the tree's color. He could practically fuse with the tree. Back in the Heavenly Gourd domain, when he was dealing with Prince Shui and fusing with the Heavenly Gourd Spirit Tree Spirit Root, his subduing Dragonwood's left arm had been able to transform into wood energy. Now that Su Fang had fused with the tree, he was like a completely different person. Now that he had fused with the tree, not only was his color the same as the tree, but he also had some leaves growing out of his body. Furthermore, he was able to freely retract and release them. After breaking through to the 9th layer of Calamity Realm, the changes in my physical body's abilities are too obvious. I wonder what level my abilities will reach after breaking through to the 10th layer and then entering the Ascension Realm. At that time, I'll probably go to the Heavenly Gourd domain and fuse with the Heavenly Gourd Spirit Tree. Just like that, Su Fang quickly crossed the forest and arrived at the mountain peak. In the middle of the mountain, he saw a huge floating enchantment inside the mountain. This barrier was the Heavenly Demon Realm. Furthermore, there was a detection array around the entire mountain range. If anyone entered without permission, they would be discovered by the patrolling Big Goblin. Su Fang arrived outside the Heavenly Demon Realm. When he saw this barrier, he was very surprised. It can actually reach the height of a second-rate faction's barrier. Although it can't compare to a first-rate faction, this height is already shocking. How many humans and Big Goblin can it stop? He released his true chi and fused with the world's divine aura, slowly touching the array. This time, he didn't need to release the divine image Jade Annulus. Instead, he slowly used his true chi, using wood energy and natural energy as the main force, to slowly penetrate. After penetrating layer by layer, after 2 hours, he finally penetrated through the entire realm. These penetrating layers formed a fist-sized passageway. Su Fong entered one after another. When he looked again, he was already inside the heavenly demon realm. In front of him were huge mountains and forests. There were also many valleys with beautiful scenery. This wasn't the big goblin world. However, the scenery was only on the surface. This world was filled with shocking demonic aura. It constantly spewed out from the valleys, mountains, and forests. There were about 1,000 palaces and castles located on the mountain peaks, mountainsides, or valleys. There were even more indescribable caves that filled the walls of the cliffs. The amount of demonic aura represented the number of big goblin. Su Fong's expression suddenly froze. Some cold air spread between his eyebrows. Nine-headed demon king. I can already sense the aura of no less than 20,000 big goblin. Didn't you say that the heavenly demon venerable only is close to 10,000 big goblin under him? There are so many big goblin. Something is wrong. The nine-headed demon king did not understand. Master, you better leave. Something must have happened in the heavenly demon realm. Otherwise, there would not be so many big goblin. I have come here 10 times, if not 100, but I have never sensed more than 10,000 big goblin in the heavenly demon realm. It's okay. The big goblin world is not a human world. There is only one person here who can pose a threat. That is the heavenly demon venerable. However, it is obvious that his supernatural powers are far from that of a human martial artist. Based on this, he will not be able to detect my presence. With caution, Su Fong did not stay in midair. Instead, he entered the mountains. He continued to use his wood elemental ability to travel through the forest. In the process, he came across many caves, castles, and palaces. He sensed too many big goblin that had reached the high level of the transformation realm. After spending half a day, he finally arrived at the outside of another enchantment. This enchantment was probably the center of the heavenly demon realm. It was also where the heavenly demon venerable and his martial artists were. Su Fong spent some effort and easily entered the enchantment. In front of him were more than 10 spaces formed by the enchantment. It looked like more than 10 demon clouds were floating in midair. In every space formed by the enchantment, there was a giant demon that had reached the level of the brute force demon king. This meant that there were more than 10 brute force demon kings here. Although there were only a dozen spaces, there were many big goblin in each space. There were probably hundreds of powerful big goblin here. In the middle, which was also the highest space formed by the enchantment, Su Fong felt an indescribable aura of big goblin. First, there were more than 10 big goblins that were as strong as the brute force demon king. Next, there were 2 big goblin auras that were as strong as the 9-headed demon king. One of them must be the heavenly demon venerable. But what about the other big goblin? Could there be another big goblin that was as strong as the heavenly demon venerable? One heavenly demon venerable was hard enough to deal with, but there were 2 of them? Su Fong secretly asked the 9-headed demon king, but he could not be sure. In the past, the heavenly demon venerable did not have such a powerful big goblin. The 9-headed demon king's strength was at the same level as the heavenly demon venerable. Now that there was another big goblin, it would not be easy to deal with the heavenly demon venerable. Su Fong was also bold. He released his full circle ability and approached the enchantment. He wanted to enter the heavenly demon venerable's dojo to find out what was going on. Chapter 739. Wooling Goblin. The closer he got to the center of the formation, the stronger the demonic aura. The auras of dozens of big goblin intertwined. At first, they were covered by the formation and could not be sensed. But now, some of the big goblin auras were very clear. As his hands touched the formation, Su Fong gradually merged with the formation. With the support of the godly form and the demonic aura in his body, his entire body was covered with demonic aura. In this way, he was no longer a human. Demonic aura was not easily sensed in the sky-reaching demon world. But if a human was in this formation, it would be like walking on thin ice. Su Fong could activate the demonic and demonic aura at any time. With the demonic aura and the power of the world, he quickly found the formation patterns in the formation. After some integration, he easily passed through it. At this moment, he was inside the formation. Not only was there a palace in front of him, but the entire world was filled with demonic aura. There are also many earth elemental and wood elemental demonic auras. What's going on? Floating in the space, he suddenly felt a different demonic aura. He first hid near the palace, and then activated his great fulfillment ability. His vision could see through the palace and the big goblin inside. The big goblins were all in human form. There were only a few patrolling big goblins, but their strength was close to that of the brute force demon king. His great fulfillment ability quickly found the target he was looking for. In the middle of the palace, there were two extremely strong demonic auras released from the dark golden palace. One of the demonic auras was violent and bloody. It had a shocking aura of vital energy and supernatural powers. The big goblin had supernatural powers that only humans had. It must be the sky-reaching demon venerable. As for the other one, its aura was filled with earth elemental power. The demonic aura was not bloody, but it was very evil. This was an unusual big goblin. Looks like the stone monsters on the 7 Stars Demon Island. This is a stone demon. The great fulfillment ability locked onto the palace and also found the location and aura of the sky-reaching demon venerable and the big goblin. He secretly communicated with the 9-headed demon king. It's a rock demon, and it's as strong as the Tong Tian demon venerable. Such a big goblin is not common in the demon cavern continent. The 9-headed demon king fell silent. After a while, he said in surprise, "It must be one of the peerless demon kings of the demon cave continent, Wuling Goblin." Wuling Goblin. Su Fong's eyes lit up. There are more than 100 demon kings in the demon cave continent, and each demon king has extraordinary abilities. However, there are not many demon kings who have reached the strength of the demon venerable demon king. Furthermore, it is a stone demon. It must be a Wuling Goblin. I have seen this rock demon a few times. When we met, we only drank wine and ate meat. However, I still have some understanding of it. The Wuling Goblin has been cultivating for a very long time, probably close to 100,000 years. This demon is very legendary. It came from the ridge of a mountain, and that ridge was called the Black Ridge Ridge. For some unknown reason, after countless years, a thunderbolt appeared on this ridge one night. Not long after, a big goblin called the Wuling Goblin appeared in the Demon Cavern continent. This is the current Wuling Goblin. This person is very strong, and its body can turn into Vajra. Its hardness is exactly the same as a magic treasure. In the immortal melody world, its demon body's hardness is probably even greater than that of the sky-reaching demon venerable. The 9-headed demon king was shocked as he explained the Wuling Goblin's origin and abilities. This made Su Fong remember his experience on the 7 Stars Demon Island even more clearly. Stone demon, no matter how powerful the Wuling Goblin was, it could not compare to the stone monster under the 7-Star Dojo. Back then, it was thanks to the heaven-reverent stone statue that they were able to deal with the stone golem. That was a material from a great world, and the stone golem was incredibly powerful. In the end, the heaven-reverent stone statue was shattered before they were able to deal with the stone golem. A piercing sky demon venerable is already hard enough to deal with. Now, there's another Wuling Goblin. Oh well, the Wuling Goblin is a stone demon formed from a mountain ridge. It absorbs the spiritual energy of heaven and earth, and its earth elemental energy is indescribable. My natal power also contains the supreme power of the earth element. It can completely suppress the Wuling Goblin and then completely take over its body. I can't just kill it. A big goblin like this can help me deal with the Xinyuan Empire and Deutsche more easily. I can't kill it. After pondering for a while, Zhang Xian focused his attention on his perfect vision. His vision constantly penetrated the dark golden palace. There were 4 big goblins guarding the palace. In the depths, 2 middle-aged big goblins appeared vaguely in front of his vision. They must be the piercing sky demon Venerable and the Wooling Goblin. First, it was the Wooling Goblin, who was releasing an obvious earth elemental demonic aura, which attracted Su Fang's attention. The Wooling Goblin was dressed in a yellow robe, unlike the big goblins who were wearing armor, helmets, and holding weapons. He was a burly man in a yellow robe. At first glance, it was obvious that he had divine strength and was a martial arts expert. Next to him was the piercing sky demon Venerable. Compared to the Wooling Goblin, the piercing sky demon Venerable was dressed in silver armor. He did not look burly, but the silver armor made him look like a human cultivator instead of a big goblin. Coincidentally, the Wooling Goblin spoke. "Brother Heavenspan, humans have invaded our continent recently, and I heard that they killed quite a few experts. Even the Crow King continent has been stirred up. I wonder which human power would have the guts to do such a thing. The reason I came here today is to discuss whether or not we should use the excuse of capturing human cultivators as an excuse to swallow up the surrounding demon kings. When the time comes, we'll become the most powerful rulers of this territory." The piercing sky demon Venerable immediately said, "I have the same idea. The surrounding demon kings are all very cocky. Other than Huanjin, this king is wary of their alliance. I have not touched them all these years because I have no excuse. You have to know that we demon kings are all allies. Once we seize territory on a large scale, it will attract other demon kings to seize territory. It seems like you and I have the same idea. As for the human cultivator who barged into our continent a while ago, we don't have the time to look for him. We will use this as an excuse to deal with the demon kings around us, especially the demon king between us. We will open up a path between our territories. This large piece of land will become our territory, and all the demons will have to pay tribute to us." Ha! The two big goblin kings laughed heartily in the depths of the hall. After that, there was no more movement. Su Fang sensed the surrounding big goblin formations. Some of the big goblins were even tree demons. They were probably experts under the Wooling Goblin. It was an earth-type big goblin, and its experts were mostly stone monsters and tree demons. After a few days, Su Fang secretly left the formation. After leaving the piercing sky demon world, Su Fang heaved a sigh of relief. He went to a forest far away and released the nine-headed demon king, Su Jinhua, and Li Haojia. When the nine-headed demon king heard the plan of the two demon kings, he knew that these demon kings were actually fighting each other in the dark. Everyone wanted more territory. The piercing sky demon Venerable's territory was already 10 times that of a normal big goblin, but it was still not satisfied. The Wooling Goblin was the same. If these two big goblins broke through their territories and formed a large piece of land, there was no doubt that they would become the most powerful force in the demon cavern continent. The few of them went to the forest to rest. Su Jinhua suggested, "Master, we have to plan this operation well. There are more than 20,000 big goblins and 2 big goblins." Su Fang nodded. "Indeed, we have to plan it well. The piercing sky demon world is not very big, but it covers the entire mountain range and valleys. Especially the piercing sky demon Venerable's subordinates. They are all around the mountain range. However, if we use the undying tortoise to attack the piercing sky demon world, the surrounding big goblins will immediately attack. Let's follow Master's plan. I will openly bring experts and step into the piercing sky demon world to visit the piercing sky demon Venerable." The nine-headed demon king said, "The piercing sky demon Venerable will definitely receive us grandly. When that happens, most of the experts will gather together. The undying tortoise will descend from the sky and attack the piercing sky demon world. The entire barrier will be destroyed instantly, and all the big goblins will be severely injured. We will then work together to deal with the 2 big goblins, and let the brute force demon king lead the other big goblins to deal with the big goblin under the piercing sky demon Venerable. This way, we will have a greater chance of success." Li Haojia also spoke his mind in detail. "Brother Fang, remember when you and I were fighting the immortal toad? It escaped. In the end, you said that if the immortal toad did not have the speed, it would be suppressed by you. If the undying tortoise smashes the piercing sky demon world and presses all the big goblin underground, they will not be able to move for a short period of time. Then, can we take the opportunity to suppress them? If the wooling goblin is pressed under the undying tortoise, it will protect the piercing sky demon venerable immediately. It will then use its earth elemental ability to rescue the piercing sky demon venerable from the undying tortoise in the shortest time possible. Then we will suppress the wooling goblin first. This way, the piercing sky demon venerable will be pressed down by the undying tortoise and will need some time to escape. All right, it's decided then. The more people there were, the more ideas there were. Such a difficult problem was suddenly solved. However, a plan was a plan, and an action was an action. It was still full of unpredictable changes. The few of them headed back in the direction they came from and increased their speed. When they arrived at the edge of the Demon Cavern continent, they released the Xianhuang Six Paths Pagoda, and a door appeared in the sky. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. The brute force Demon King led the big goblin through the door. Half a day later, the purple wind serpent, the Luo Shan King, and more than 5,000 big goblins had arrived. Most of the big goblin strength had recovered, but some of the more severely injured big goblin were unable to recover. After all, they had been smashed by the undying tortoise. Even if they did not die, they would have been crushed into meat patties. Su Fong wanted each big goblin to release an oppressive aura. Then Su Fong, Su Jinhua, and Li Haojia would enter the empty bag, and the nine-headed Demon King would wear it on his waist. In an instant, thousands of demons followed the nine-headed Demon King and the brute force Demon King into the continent, flying towards the piercing sky demon venerable's territory. Half a month later, just as they were about to enter the piercing sky demon venerable's territory, a big goblin flew out from the depths. It was the expert sent by the piercing sky demon venerable to welcome the nine-headed Demon King. It seemed like the strong would be able to survive anywhere and be put in an important position. A few days later, they were about to enter the piercing sky demon venerable's territory. When they were about to enter the central region, the nine-headed Demon King personally communicated with the piercing sky demon venerable, ordering the brute force Demon King and the 5,000 big goblins to stay in the forest and wait for orders. With so many experts, the nine-headed Demon King thought that he was here to snatch the territory. The nine-headed Demon King led the purple Feng Jun and a dozen other powerful big goblins into the depths of the territory. Half a day later, they arrived at the mountain range where the piercing sky demon world was. Haha, welcome, Brother Nine-Headed. Brother Wooling is also here as a guest. Welcome, welcome. The piercing sky demon venerable was clad in silver armor. He was not even 40 years old, and he looked very handsome. He personally led the Wooling Goblin and many other big goblins to welcome them in the air. After the two parties met, they swaggered into the piercing sky demon world. Flying in the piercing sky demon world openly and sneaking in secretly were two different things. Floating in the air, it gave people the feeling that the piercing sky demon world was no different from the human cultivation dojos. It had the scenery and spiritual chi. The only difference was that the world was filled with demonic chi. Arriving at the central array formation, the big goblin lined up to welcome them into the Golden Palace. The big goblin served them cups of fresh blood, which naturally belonged to human cultivators. There were also plates of steaming human brains. The nine-headed Demon King, the piercing sky demon venerable, and the wooling goblin chatted and laughed. After a few words, they drank a cup of fresh blood or swallowed the brains. Demons were demons after all. They all looked like humans, but deep down, they were bloodthirsty and ferocious animals. Chapter 740. The air in the hall was filled with the smell of blood. The nine-headed Demon King, the Tongtian monster venerable, and the wooling goblin gobbled up the meat and drank the blood. From time to time, they would talk about the happenings in the immortal melody world. At night, the Tongtian monster venerable ordered his big goblin subordinates to gather at the center of the array. They would enter the open space in front of his palace and hold a grand banquet. While they were waiting, the nine-headed Demon King and the purple Feng Jun led a dozen powerful big goblin subordinates to rest in a nearby castle. In fact, they were secretly observing the palace from afar. Big Goblin kept swarming over. They were all big goblins of the feather transformation realm. Their numbers were increasing, and they all looked human. The sky was getting dark. The nine-headed demon, King, sent a telepathic message to his empty bag. Master, the Tongtian monster Venerable and the Wuling Goblin subordinates are close to 10,000 strong. I estimate that only 10,000 big goblin are gathered here. Although Su Fong was hiding in an empty bag, he could still sense the periphery when he used his great perfection stage ability. Let's attack at the moment the gathering starts. If we are together with the heaven-reaching demon Venerable, we will also be severely injured by the undying tortoise when the time comes. The nine-headed demon king and the purple Feng Jun widened their eyes and stared at the palace from the castle. The palace was filled with big goblin. If there was no demonic aura, it would seem that a powerful force was gathering at the palace. Master, it's about time. The sky darkened, and the array was filled with countless jewels and treasure chi. The nine-headed demon, King, suddenly held his breath. Su Fong immediately appeared from his empty bag and communicated with the Jade Wall. He then activated the power of the realm and his natal divine power, turning into a ray of light that sucked the nine-headed demon king, the purple Feng Jun, and the other big goblin into his palm. Su Jinhua and Li Haojie did the same. Su Fong was left alone. He condensed the demonic aura left behind by the nine-headed demon king and the other big goblin into Wuji doppelganger, so that the demonic aura could be maintained in the castle for a while. After a few breaths of time, he reached the depths of the spell formation, where he performed a hand seal to enter the ground. At the same time, he raised his power to its peak and summoned the Starlight Sword. His consummate ability allowed him to sense the entire heaven-span demon realm. They could see more than 10,000 big goblin in the Skirich Demon Supremacy's palace. Thousands of big goblins were watching from the periphery of the array formation. When he extended his senses to the sky again, he saw the immortal light of the divine image, Jade Annulus, spitting out the huge, undying tortoise. In the time it takes for a spark to fly off a piece of flint, the clouds in the sky were shaken apart. A black cloud seemed to have been separated from the sea of clouds and was about to lose its center of gravity, plummeting straight down towards the heaven-span demon realm. The undying tortoise shook the air so much that sparks almost ignited. In the blink of an eye, the stars above the heaven-span demon realm were covered in black clouds of fire. In fact, this burning cloud was the undying tortoise. At this moment, the brute force demon king also led thousands of big goblin towards the heaven-reaching demon venerable's territory. Rumble, crack, crack. Above the heaven-span demon realm, the burning cloud of fire smashed into the center of the heaven-span demon realm's array formation. The undying tortoise was almost a quarter of the heaven-span demon realm's surface area. It couldn't cover the entire barrier, but it accurately smashed the center of the array formation. And the entire heaven-span demon realm's array formation also shattered. Rumble, rumble, rumble. A hole was blasted in the center of the array formation, and one could vaguely see it. As for the undying tortoise's shell, as well as its body and surroundings, it was filled with a destructive force formed by the impact of the terrifying aura. The magnitude of this force kept increasing, and most of the remaining array formations around it started to collapse completely. At this moment, the central array formation of the heaven-span demon venerable, as well as some of the surrounding areas, were crushed under the undying tortoise's body. Just like the old nine-headed city, it was reduced to ruins under the shocking impact of the impact. The impact of the destructive force was still crushing and devouring the outer array formation step by step. The undying tortoise's surroundings were reduced to ruins by the impact of the destructive force. The mountains were also reduced to dust. One could imagine how terrifying the impact of the undying tortoise's descent from the sky was. Boom, boom. The ground under the undying tortoise was still shattered and shaking. One could see how many big goblin could not be controlled and were squashed by the undying tortoise into the ruins and rocks. They wailed in pain and did not know what was happening. Boom, A mysterious yellow light was quickly approaching the surface from the depths of the ground. Su Fong released his great perfection ability. He held the starry daylight sword in his right hand, and a mysterious yellow door appeared in his left palm. As the surroundings were shaking and the destructive force spread, he was also affected. But fortunately, he was prepared this time and used his defense to protect himself well. Everything was being destroyed in the shaking, but Su Fongda's great perfection ability was locked in one direction. The moment the undying tortoise smashed down, he had been paying attention to the heaven-span demon Venerable and the woolen goblin. Although at that moment, the heaven-span demon Venerable sensed that the array formation was shaking, he did not seem to think much of it. In the end, when he sensed that something was wrong, he was smashed into the ground by the undying tortoise like all the big goblin. He was severely injured by the impact. Whoosh, 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 whoosh. They immediately charged towards the heaven-span demon Venerable and the woolen goblin. Su Fong released the nine-headed demon king and the other big goblin and immediately ordered them to deal with the big goblin. He, Su Jinhua, and Li Haojia flew a few feet before they felt a terrifying demonic aura exploding. With his great perfection ability, he saw the heaven-span demon Venerable releasing the power of an array formation. He brought along many big goblin to form a space and started attacking the undying tortoise. Su Fong's gaze shifted to the side. The woolen goblin brought along some of its subordinates and released their aura in a panic. They created a tunnel under the undying tortoise. They probably wanted to rush out first. The woolen goblin's speed is astonishing. If it escapes and helps the heaven-span demon Venerable, we don't have much confidence in suppressing the two big goblins together. Let's go to the ground to ambush and suppress the woolen goblin first. It has the power of the earth. If it escapes underground, we won't be able to catch up. Su Fong, Su Jinhua, and Li Haojia communicated with each other. He activated his fastest speed and rushed towards the woolen goblin. In his senses, the woolen goblin quickly turned back into its original form. It was also injured, but was not as strong as the heaven-span demon Venerable. As its original form, the woolen goblin was a dark golden rock that was about 10 feet long. Its body was flat, and it shuttled through the ruins under the undying tortoise. Its speed was astonishing, comparable to a feather transformation realm expert flying in the air. Fortunately, Su Fong was one step ahead of time and flew out first. He spread his arms and released a shocking aura along with Su Jinhua and Li Haojia at the position where the woolen goblin was about to escape from the ground. Su Jinhua used the Yuan refining immortal pearl as the source and used the Emperor's seal. He grabbed a large number of golden seals and waited for the woolen goblin to fly out. Li Haojia used the Yuan suppressing demon transformation heavenly book. Shackles of seals were stored in the void under the control of the Tao artifact. Less than 2 breaths later, when the woolen goblin rushed out of the ground, Su Fong found that the woolen goblin had sensed a threat and suddenly jumped to the other side. You can still run. He sent a thought to Su Jinhua and Li Haojia. The two experts flashed towards the ground, and in a breath, Su Fong was already 10 feet away. Looking down, there seemed to be a slightly vibrating dust aura. The aura in his hand suddenly suppressed a white blade and stabbed towards the ground. Hula! Kacha! The white blade turned into a white light without any terrifying aura, but after flying out, it immediately stabbed into the ground. Clang! The white light was the bloodless starry daylight sword. When it stabbed into the ground, it was as fast as lightning. But when it stabbed into the ground, it encountered an incomparably sturdy 5 fingers and produced a deafening sound of metal clashing. When this sound appeared, only the hilt of the starry daylight sword was left above the ground. Then, boom boom, the ground on both sides of the hilt suddenly exploded. On one side, there was a dark golden demonic hand, and on the other side, there was also a large hand, but this time it was made of stone. The ground exploded again. As the starry daylight sword shattered, it suddenly bulged and revealed a stone head. It was a black stone head with some golden aura. Part of the starry daylight sword stabbed into the stone, about half a foot deep. This showed that the stone was very sturdy. Ah! The rock suddenly roared, and a pitch-black stone man stood up from the ruins. This was the resurrection of a giant. At this moment, Su Jinhua was not idle. He immediately used the sacred Emperor Divine Yuan Scripture's golden runes. While the stone man had just stood up, it was still covered in rubble and dust. Tens of thousands of runes wrapped around it, especially its legs and arms. Another young expert unleashed a blood-colored Tao item's divine aura, which transformed into mysterious runes that covered the stone man's body. Supreme Imperial Might, submit. Su Jinhua's arms shook and his feet stepped into the air. The golden energy wrapped around the stone man's body pressed it to the ground, wanting to make it kneel. Crack! Crack! But the stone man only moved a few times and trembled for a moment before it was still able to endure. Its body began to emit terrifying crackling sounds. What a powerful woolen goblin. Even with my Tao item's power, I can't surpass it. Su Jinhua let out a few beads of sweat. Careful! Li Haojie began to chant some blood-colored Tao runes, and they fell on the stone man one by one. Each Tao rune blood seal covered the stone man's body, adding a bit more blood-colored power, suppressing the stone man's fierce demonic chi. This was the method of a demon hunter. As expected, when dealing with demons, they were completely different from ordinary cultivators. In terms of power, Li Haojie naturally wasn't Su Jinhua's match. But in terms of suppressing demons, even 10 Su Jinhuas would be inferior. The stone man's swaying eyes glared at the two experts. You damnable humans are actually so despicable to sneak attack this king. Once this king struggles out, he'll definitely turn you into meatballs. Li Haojie curled his lip and sneered. Wooling Goblin, you won't have that chance. Vajrabadi. The Wooling Goblin released a dazzling demonic light. Its legs began to absorb the surrounding rocks. Some of the light caused the rocks on the ground to constantly move closer to it. It was like a magnet that could control any rock around it. Even the ground was under its control. What a powerful big goblin. With such power, even a large power won't be able to suppress you. Su Jinhua's monarch seal was able to suppress the Wooling Goblin at first. However, as Black Ridge Demon King absorbed more and more rocks to strengthen his body, he soon seemed to have turned into a giant stone man. Because of that, the monarch seal's suppression was weakened. Fortunately, only the Wooling Goblin's legs could absorb the rocks. Its upper body was shackled by the blood-colored void. Any rocks that were sucked and were unable to get close to it. Brother Fong, are you done? Li Haojie was also struggling. He was still calm, but he still urgently looked up. Titan Divine Palm. A human figure appeared. His body was upside down. Surrounded by a Tao item, his 5 fingers clawed out. His 5 fingers released a dazzling golden light that merged with the Tao item. He grabbed the Wooling Goblin's head. Bang! His attack was as fast as lightning. His 5 fingers grabbed the Wooling Goblin's head. Then the door in his palm released the Tao item's divine aura that poured into the Wooling Goblin's body. Tao item. The Wooling Goblin looked in despair at its feet that were separated from the ground. Chapter 741. It seemed that in the next moment, the Wooling Goblin would be sucked into Su Fong's palm. Seeing this, Su Jinhua and Li Haojie let out a sigh of relief. With the 3 of them working together, they had absolute confidence in suppressing the Wooling Goblin. Humans, this king won't let you succeed so easily. The Wooling Goblin began its desperate counterattack. Blood poured out of its eyes, and it spat out a bloody energy. Mountain crumbles and earth splits. Mountain crumbles and earth splits. Seeing that their attack had failed, Su Jinhua and Li Haojie didn't dare to be careless. They looked around at the bloody energy that had disappeared. Crack! Little did they know, there was no movement in the surroundings, but the Wooling Goblin's body made a shocking sound. When the 3 of them looked at it, the Wooling Goblin's body began to crack, starting from its chest and spreading to the rest of its body. All of this happened in the blink of an eye. In less than 2 breaths' time, no one was able to react. Crack! Boom! In less than 3 breaths' time, the Wooling Goblin's body shattered into pieces. Li Haojia and Su Jinhua's power also shattered along with it. Su Jinhua couldn't believe it. Li Haojia's expression froze. Brother Fong, we can't give it a chance to breathe. This kind of stone goblin will shatter itself. Once a piece escapes, it can start anew. It can't run. World energy, come in. In reality, Su Fong was fully prepared. How could it let the Wuling Goblin escape? A large amount of control energy exploded around the Wuling Goblin. The Dao item door in its palm was 10 times more dazzling. Hua Hua Hua, the Wuling Goblin's head was sucked into the door in the blink of an eye. Following that, the rest of the stone goblin's body was sucked into the Dao item door. Not a single piece was left behind. Whoosh! Su Jinhua and Li Haojia also withdrew their power. Only then could they relax. Bang! Bang! Not far behind them, there were a few explosions in the ruins. Some tree demons and stone monsters, which were naturally Wuling Goblin subordinates, tried to escape from this world with heavy injuries and fear. Su Fong's eyes burned with passion. Su Jinhua, you go and deal with them. If you can't capture them alive, kill them. These big goblins' power is special. Even if you kill them, you have to leave their bodies for me. Then you'll be in charge of dealing with the big goblin. When we encounter the piercing heaven monster venerables, we might need your help. The latter activated the might of the Dao artifact and released the Golden Emperor's seal. Like a great general, he charged towards a dozen or so big goblin. Su Fong and Li Haojia immediately rushed to the center. When they arrived above the undying tortoise, they immediately saw Big Goblin rushing over to provide support. Under the lead of some big goblin, they released their Dharma treasures or the power of their demonic bodies to attack the undying tortoise. Some big goblin even tried to move the undying tortoise away. There were also more than 3,000 big goblin surrounding the undying tortoise and attacking it from different angles. The undying tortoise was extremely tough. With so many big goblin attacking it from the surroundings, it was completely fine. It lazily opened its eyes, and no big goblin dared to approach it. Even the piercing heaven monster venerables would be bitten to death in an instant if they went in front of it. If the undying tortoise could be killed by a few thousand big goblin, then 100,000 years ago, it would have killed its way into many continents. By then, it would have been killed by so many big goblin. Fortunately, some big goblin in front were being defeated, and the brute force demon king led thousands of big goblin to transform into its true form. It activated its Dharma treasures and various demonic auras, killing the nearby big goblin and forcing them to flee. Li Haojia formed a seal, piercing heaven monster venerable's aura. Su Fong looked around and suddenly saw hundreds of big goblin gathered near the undying tortoise. He said in surprise, "There's no need to sense it. The piercing heaven monster venerable's aura is in the center of those big goblin. It seems like it's either recovering or just escaped. Anyway, it's conserving its energy. Kill." The two of them charged forward at the same time. Protect the great king. The surrounding great demons of different shapes and sizes immediately came forward to block them. Even if the undying tortoise suppressed more than 10,000 big goblin, the piercing heaven monster venerables still had close to 10,000 big goblin subordinates scattered around the mountain range. They were constantly attacking, and in less than half an hour, they would all be here to support them. However, how could these big goblins stop Su Fong and Li Haojia? In addition, the brute force demon king led thousands of big goblin to attack from behind. They were able to kill all the big goblin without any resistance. These big goblins could not unleash their true strength at all. On the other side, the nine-headed demon king led the purple Feng Jun and other experts to push back the big goblin step by step. They were moving towards the center of the mountain range. The two of them dodged the attacks of the big goblin and arrived at the place where thousands of big goblin were. In the center, they indeed saw a heaven-defying, blood-colored demonic aura. That is, Li Haojia was first surprised, then shocked. It turned out that the piercing heaven monster venerables was eating the corpse of a big goblin. This big goblin's vitality seemed to be very shocking. Its entire body was sealed which was why the piercing heaven monster Venerables was able to swallow it so easily. Li Haojia broke out in cold sweat. Brother Fong, the piercing heaven monster Venerables is indeed not simple. It even knows how to seal such a big goblin with extraordinary vitality and is prepared to eat it at any time. Looking at its proficiency in the seals, it's not inferior to human experts. It's indeed powerful. The piercing heaven monster Venerables was able to recover from its injuries in such a short time. This is the difference between it and the nine-headed demon king, the brute force demon king, and the wooling goblin. Su Fong nodded. If it did not have such means to recover from its injuries quickly, it would be similar to suppressing the wooling goblin. It would just be more difficult. But now, we have to fight with the piercing heaven monster Venerables, whose strength is almost normal. I'm afraid it won't be as easy as dealing with the wooling goblin. At this moment, thousands of big goblins suddenly flew up. The piercing heaven monster Venerables, who had swallowed the big goblin in the center, suddenly revealed a ruthless look. Its silver armor was dyed red with blood. It glanced at Su Fong and Li Haojia. The two of you have suppressed the wooling goblin. You're next. Li Haojia shouted calmly. The piercing heaven monster Venerables was evil. The nine-headed demon king and the brute force demon king have actually defected to you humans. So you came to see me this time to suppress me. So what if that's the case? Some of you and the wooling goblin's 20,000 strong experts have been suppressed by the undying tortoise and have been severely injured and have lost their abilities. Su Fong also said there are less than 10,000 big goblins that could be used now. How can you be our match? I advise you to quickly submit to us. Otherwise, if you struggle, you will be the ones suffering in the end. The piercing heaven monster Venerables looked at the undying tortoise. This is my territory. I won't allow you to be so presumptuous. But you are really powerful. What surprised this king the most was the undying tortoise. You can even suppress it. The undying tortoise suddenly roared angrily. Your master tortoise is cooperating with the humans. What do you mean by suppressing a little brat like you? If you dare to come in front of me, I will bite you into pieces. A demon like you who defected to the humans. The piercing heaven monster Venerables looked at the two of them fiercely. Then, he ordered the surrounding big goblin, kill them. Some of these big goblins were very powerful. They had reached the level of the brute force demon king. One by one, the big goblin led their experts and roared towards Su Fong and Li Haojia. Master, at this moment, the nine-headed demon king shot out a beam of demonic aura and rushed over to provide support. The brute force demon king knew that Su Fong was mainly dealing with the piercing heaven monster Venerables. Thus, he also led a group of experts and rushed over from the back. Su Fong and Li Haojia took advantage of the fact that countless big goblin were rushing over to help and instantly flew into the sky. Suddenly, the perfected demon blood plate appeared under Su Fong's feet. The blood ghost perfected demon turned into a bloody light and appeared. Once it appeared, a special poisonous gas made Su Fong and Li Haojia uneasy. Li Haojia looked at the perfected demon blood plate. Brother Fong, what are you doing? Recently, I have comprehended another superpower from the Heavenly Demon Book. It attacks the young infant and primordial spirit. It is called the Heavenly Demon's Voice. The Heavenly Demon's Voice can only be used by a true demon who has reached the level of the Lord of Five Poisons. Fortunately, I have the perfected demon blood plate. I can barely use the Heavenly Demon's Voice for a short period of time. However, I need the support of a strong young infant. Brotherly, pay attention to the movements of the piercing heaven monster Venerables. This person's strength is very terrifying. He is definitely stronger than the immortal toad. His strength might be similar to Sorcerer Heiyun. After giving his instructions, Su Fong wanted the blood ghost perfected demon to release the poisonous gas and rush towards the hundreds of big goblin alone. Under Li Haojia's protection, Su Fong sat cross-legged on the perfected demon blood plate and shot out a beam of bloody light. Then, the perfected demon blood plate buzzed, and some burning demonic patterns appeared. The demonic patterns entered Su Fong's glabella and entered his divine aperture. The young infant in his divine aperture suddenly boiled and split into thousands of young infants. At this moment, the nine-headed demon king killed his way into the big goblin and attracted hundreds of big goblin to fight. The brute force demon king also brought hundreds of big goblin to the back of the piercing heaven monster venerables and was entangled by a portion of the big goblin. Some of the remaining big goblin were attracted by the blood ghost perfected demon, while some continued to rush towards Su Fong and Li Haojia. As for the piercing heaven monster venerables, he brought a few very powerful big goblin and was controlling the situation in the void. It seemed like the piercing heaven monster venerables was also summoning the various big goblin in his territory. The heavenly demon's voice is built on the heavenly demon disintegration seal. No wonder after cultivating the heavenly demon book for so long, I only obtained the heavenly demon disintegration seal. At first, I thought that the external heavenly demon disintegration seal was a young, nascent cultivation technique. I didn't expect it to be a young, nascent attack. The heavenly demon's voice is built on the heavenly demon disintegration seal. First, the heavenly demon disintegration seal will split into a young, nascent soul. Then, it will use the perfected demon's blood plate and the heavenly demon book's special demon Tao mental cultivation technique to create a chaotic and decadent demonic sound. It will first disturb the enemy's young nascent soul, and then turn into a sound wave with demonic chi as its main component, attacking the enemy's young nascent soul. Sound is formless. The heavenly demon's voice is built on this kind of illusory attack. This is a peerless young nascent mystical ability that the enemy will find hard to defend against. No wonder the fat immortal once told me that if I cultivate the heavenly demon book to the extreme, my young nascent soul will surpass most immortals in the great world. Su Fong was constantly forming seals. Illusory, demonic chi shadows flew out from his head. "Brother Fong, they're here." At this moment, Li Haojia looked towards the piercing heaven monster venerables. There were about 500 to 600 big goblin in front of them. They were about 100 meters away from being surrounded. Heavenly demon disintegration, young nascent soul flight, soul-sucking demonic voice. With a whoosh, a large amount of black demonic flames flew out from Su Fong. These demonic flames were separated from Su Fong's young nascent soul. There were more than 1,000 of them. These young nascent souls were quickly drawn into the big goblin army. The pitiful big goblin's greatest advantage over humans was its physical body. However, its cultivation was less than 1% of a human's. Furthermore, the young nascent soul was a power that it was difficult for them to possess. The 1,000 illusory, demonic young nascent souls looked illusory, but they were real. They floated around the big goblin. After forming seals, demonic light exploded. They opened their mouths together and let out strange, low sounds of sizzling, chirping, and whining. These sounds surged towards the big goblin. They were originally sound waves, but under Su Fong's gaze, the sounds turned into distorted demonic patterns. They formed a roaring state and drew into the big goblin's head. Kiki, seeing that there were only a few dozen feet left, some big goblin were about to charge over. Suddenly, these big goblin hugged their heads in pain. Some fell down and struggled. Blood bubbled out from their eyes, noses, ears, and mouths. Chapter 742. It was their primordial spirits that were spurting out blood. Their primordial spirits were shaken by the waves of demonic runes, and their primordial spirits were about to leave their bodies. Under such shaking, the big goblin could no longer control its primordial spirits, let alone its body. As its primordial spirits were shaken by the waves of demonic runes, hundreds of big goblins were crying out in pain in midair. Li Haojia was guarding at the side. When he saw this, he clapped his hands and exclaimed, "Impressive, impressive!" Of course, when the nine-headed demon king, the brute force demon king, and the other big goblins saw this, they also smiled excitedly. Xianhuang Six Paths Pagoda. Instantly, Su Fong created the Six Paths portal and appeared above hundreds of big goblin. The Tontian demon venerable was shocked. He did not expect his army to be stopped by Su Fong in an instant. When he saw the Six Paths portal, He immediately understood Su Fang's next move. He waved his fist and shouted, "Not good, destroy that superpower!" A few powerful big goblins beside him flew towards the Six Paths portal. Li Haojie also flew over at the same time and released the power of a Dao artifact in midair. He condensed a few blood-red flames and shot out rays of sword radiance to stop the big goblin from passing through. The Six Paths portal opened. After absorbing hundreds of big goblin at the same time, the latter followed the former. Even if they regained their senses, their primordial spirits were weak, and their consciousness was not clear. They could not control their bodies to resist. They could only watch as they were sucked into the portal. In less than half an hour, Su Fang kept the true demonic blood plate and suppressed the big goblin completely. In a flash, he passed by the true demonic blood ghosts that were fighting with the big goblin. Although the Tongtian demon venerable had lost most of his subordinates, there was not a single big goblin around him. When he saw Su Fang charging towards him, the Tongtian demon venerable rushed towards Su Fang like a shooting star. Just in time. You are the divine arms spirit monkey. I also have a paragon body. As the heavenly piercing demon venerable charged over, Su Fangdao realized that the heavenly piercing demon venerable had not used many divine abilities and was only using his fists. He immediately swung his arms, and the 5 fingers of his right hand exploded with an unparalleled aura. Just as he exerted his strength, the sky-piercing demon venerable charging at him like a meteor. Bang, the power of the fist and the palm collided with each other like a landslide. Su Fang's palm power covered his fist. At this moment, it seemed like it could crush the heavenly piercing monster venerable's fist and disperse its power. However, the aura around his body suddenly gave rise to a burst of fiery astral energy. The Tongtian demon venerable sneered, "Since you know that this king is a divine arms spirit monkey, you still dare to compete with me in terms of physical strength. You are interesting, but you're not a match for this king." Accompanied by the disdainful smile of the heavenly demon venerable, Su Fang's fiery aura exploded even more fiercely. Then, with a whoosh, Su Fang was sent flying backward. As it turned out, the sparks were not caused by his aura, but by the friction between his aura and the god power of the heaven-span demon exalted. Bang! While Su Fang was still retreating, in the air in front of him, the shock wave formed by the exchange of blows between the two almost shattered the space there. He felt an intense pain in his right arm. What a powerful Tongtian demon venerable. His fist is even harder than mine, as expected of the divine arms spirit monkey. His physical strength is indeed stronger than the 9-headed demon king and the brute force demon king. Only the Wooling goblin can be compared to him. Crackle! Who knew? While his body was still retreating, he suddenly heard a movement on his left. Su Fang glanced over from the corner of his eyes. It was the heavenly venerable monster. Its 5 fingers shattered the air. Before Su Fang could strengthen his defense, it unexpectedly grabbed the left side of his body. Poof! First, his defense was broken. Then, a piece of bloody skin was taken away by the Tongtian demon venerable. Blood spurted out, and Su Fang's face immediately turned pale. Strength and speed. Your overall strength is not as good as mine. Your advantage is your young infant. As long as I continue to attack you, you will not be able to activate that demonic Dharma treasure. The Tongtian demon venerable threw the bloody skin away. Without any advantage, no one can save you today. You are indeed very strong. Su Fang was still in a state of shock and could not stop his body. However, he looked at the Tongtian demon venerable calmly. But when I use my true strength, you will regret it. I will not give you the chance to use that young infant technique. The latter was in the air again and rushed over with the speed of teleportation. It was really fast. Su Fang also started to use all his abilities. His world power, heavenly sage tyrant body, great perfection perception, and especially his destiny artifact. One had to know that he did not use his destiny artifact just now. The Tongtian demon venerable grabbed a shocking demonic light in his fist and chased in front of Su Fang. This time, I will destroy you. Is that so? A mystic yellow light and void aura were added together. Su Fong saw his opponent's fist coming at him with a rolling aura and a large amount of astral winds. He saw the spatial airflow being torn apart by the astral winds. What a terrifying power. Bang! This time, Su Fong still used the power of his 5 fingers to cover the fist from the Tongtian Demon Venerable. The Tongtian Demon Venerable looked around. You're not my match. I heard that the Great Perfection Physique is a cultivation technique created by ancient human cultivators. However, the demon race is born with a stronger physique than humans. This king has cultivated a lot of divine abilities and stimulated his physique to the extreme. You are too stupid. You are not my match at all. Thump! Thump! After saying that, his fist was about to send Su Fong flying again. But Su Fong's 5 fingers still clasped his fist and collided with the fist even more fiercely. He actually resisted the fist from the Tongtian Demon Venerable. At this moment, the Tongtian Demon Venerable could not laugh anymore. It used its fist to directly touch Su Fong's 5 fingers. Through the many supernatural powers it had cultivated and the sensing ability it had grasped, it felt that Su Fong's skin and strength exuded a power that it could not suppress. This is the power of my destiny artifact. My physique has reached the Great Perfection Physique. In terms of strength, I am indeed not as strong as you, the Tongtian Demon Venerable. However, with such power, you cannot completely suppress me. Bang! After a stalemate, both of them were pushed back at the same time. The Tongtian Demon Venerable was surprised. You are very strong. This king now understands why you could suppress the 9-headed Demon King and the Undying Tortoise. Su Fong mocked back. If I did not have this ability, how would I have come to your Tongtian Demon Realm? However, you are stronger. You were severely injured by the Undying Tortoise, but you were able to recover in such a short time. If you did not have this ability, you would have been suppressed by me. The Undying Tortoise. Oh, the Undying Tortoise. This king could not compete with it physically, but you could suppress it physically. However, you want to suppress this king? Dream on. In this small world, this king is like you humans. He has mastered many divine abilities. Let me see how strong you are. The latter's demonic aura swept up. With a sizzling sound, his silver armor vibrated. He left behind a shadow on the ground. He pushed the ferocious beast formed by his demonic aura to pounce on Su Fong and bite him. Fist of the Holy Venerable. Divine abilities at this moment. Su Fong felt a shocking threat. If the head of the beast in front of him really bit him, only a Dao artifact defense could withstand it. Su Fong crossed his arms and took big steps forward. His entire body was covered with the Emperor's seal. His body turned into a big bow, and he immediately shot out a fist technique wave filled with fist shadows. For a moment, the two of them were locked in a stalemate in the sky. One side was the giant beast, and the other side was a large number of fist shadows. Boom! The two divine abilities collided, forming an impact that caused the airflow in the sky to churn downwards. It swept up again, forming a mushroom and sparking aura. This aura suddenly spread out in all directions along with the final explosion of the two divine abilities. In the blink of an eye, it swallowed a large part of the sky. Su Fong and the Tongtian Demon Venerable also dodged in time, leaving the sky in a state of destruction and burning. Human, you are indeed ridiculously strong. Divine Ghost Claw. The Tongtian Demon Venerable's sinister eyes flashed. He attacked first again. It seemed like he already knew that Su Fong was a difficult opponent. He had to make the first move to gain the upper hand. The figure teleported over. When he opened his arms, he wore 3-foot-long claw gloves on his hands. They looked like the claws of some kind of monster that had been refined into a transcendent artifact by the Tongtian Demon Venerable. Chi! Chi! Su Fong quickly dodged. The latter waved his sharp claws and clawed through the air. 10 cracks appeared in the space, leaving 10 1-foot-long black holes in the air. Black holes! The Tongtian Demon Venerable was able to shatter space. Although it was small, it could break space. Only peerless experts could do this. Even Su Jinhua couldn't do it. The two giants of the Xinyuan Empire, Heaven and Earth Elders, should be able to shatter space if they worked together. But the Tongtian Demon Venerable did it alone. Could it be stronger than Heaven and Earth Elders working together? Of course, it couldn't be compared like that. Su Fang's great circle ability allowed him to see the entire process of the attack. It could shatter space and leave behind 10 black holes. This was the power of a heaven-piercing demon sovereign, combined with the god Ghost Claw, and a destructive force that focused on strength. It wasn't a divine ability that shattered space, but strength. The combination of the Tongtian Demon Venerable and a very outstanding transcendent artifact made the Tongtian Demon Venerable's destructive power several times stronger than before. This king has never been forced to use his full strength for so many years. Today, this king will settle the score with you properly. After a few moves, I'll tear you into pieces. The divine Ghost Claw made sounds of bones biting each other. After the Tongtian Demon Venerable roared, he teleported again. Opposite Su Fang, he flashed to the back. Seeing the Tongtian Demon Venerable coming again, he flashed again. As soon as he formed a dodging state, 10 sharp Ghost Claw with the aura of a transcendent artifact broke through the space in front of Su Fang. It seemed that even Su Fang and space were torn apart by the 10 sharp claws at the same time. Fortunately, Su Fang was fast and dodged in time. But looking at the 10 black holes left in space, the cold black holes were like the god of death in the depths. You're quite fast. Next time, the Tongtian Demon Venerable didn't wait for the 10 black holes to heal and chased after Su Fang again. The divine Ghost Claw was less than 30 feet away. Swish! However, Su Fang also began to counterattack at this time. Twice in a row, he saw how powerful the Tongtian Demon Venerable was. It was too terrifying. Since he knew the opponent's true strength, he could also go all out. Chi-Chi. 10 sharp claws pierced in front of Su Fang again. The space split from the top right, and 10 cracks appeared in the space. Clang! It seemed to be 30 feet away, but this kind of overbearing attack could kill people within 100 feet. When the divine Ghost Claw's attack pierced a 1-meter-long crack in space, Su Fang swung his right hand and stabbed out a white light, intercepting a few of the sharp claws from the front. The metal roar shook Su Fang and the Tongtian Demon Venerable's hair. With a transcendent artifact and strength, both sides would naturally be affected in this kind of battle. The Tongtian Demon Venerable's body was full of scattered demonic aura, as if it was going to transform from a human body into a human body. He was shocked. You're only at the 9th level of the catastrophe realm. You can resist me with the extraordinary strength of the flying immortal realm. If I didn't have this foundation, do you think I would deal with a powerful enemy like you, who even Doichi has a hard time? The two had no choice but to dodge at the same time. Under the control of the transcendent artifact, Su Fang was wary of the Tongtian Demon Venerable's attack. He shouted back, and the Great Perfection Perception Realm controlled the Tongtian Demon Venerable's movements. Chapter 743. Just as he expected, the sky-piercing venerable monster teleported again, his monster aura rampaging. Suddenly, 3 sky-piercing venerables appeared around Su Fang. Doppelganger Su Fangda was shocked. A big goblin who cultivated a divine ability could also use a doppelganger like a great divine ability. Doppelganger was difficult for even human experts to cultivate and control. Cultivators who could use doppelganger generally had to have a strong physical body, abundant true chi, and proficient divine ability to use doppelganger divine ability. For a sky-piercing venerable monster to have such a heaven-defying ability, it was truly shocking. Doppelganger that might be a threat to others, Su Fangda could instantly see which one was the main body with his perfect mastery ability. Whoosh! Whoosh! The 3 sky-piercing venerables clawed out at the same time. A white light shot out from Su Fang's hand. Clang! The starry daylight sword hit one of the god Ghost Claws. As expected, it was the main body. When it clashed with the god Ghost Claw's golden halberd, its power splashed everywhere. Originally, Su Fong's strength was not enough to contend with the sky-piercing venerable monster. But now, he had the Starry Daylight sword, and it was in the state of a natal magic treasure. He was actually at the same level as the sky-piercing venerable monster. He had just broken through to the 9th layer of catastrophe, but he did not expect to be able to fight such a powerful expert. The demon venerable that even the Tao E-School couldn't do anything to was blocked by Su Fong in this part of the sky. Whoosh! The sky-piercing venerable monster was shocked. It seemed that this doppelganger was one of his trump cards, but Su Fong could easily see through the main body. How could he not be surprised? At this moment, he opened his mouth and spat out a bloody monster aura with astonishing poison. Poison aura and monster aura fused together. His hair shivered, and the Starry Daylight sword returned to his hand. When Su Fong saw the bloody monster aura surging towards him, he knew how terrifying this power was. Once infected, it would devour the body. Whoosh! At such a close distance, Su Fong could only dodge and attack. Attack, that was his choice. He spat out nether aura from around him. Kaka Kaka, the blood-colored demonic chi from the heaven-piercing venerable monster engulfed Su Fong. Unexpectedly, in an instant, everything in the surroundings began to freeze, turning into a silver-black evil ice that carried demonic chi. So you're a devil, Tao, cultivator. Skirich venerable monster took another step forward, his divine ghost claw about to shatter the ice surrounding Su Fong. Dang, the Starry Daylight sword would not allow it to easily reach its target and injure Su Fong. With a single thought, it pierced through the ice and struck the god-demon claw, forcing the heaven-reaching venerable monster to retreat. Your poison is powerful, but I have a way to neutralize it. You're a big goblin, but you're able to cultivate your divine ability to such a level. You're already extraordinary, but you can't even imagine what I'm capable of. Your demonic poison is powerful. Hee, let me show you a truly powerful poison. Su Fong roared. After he made a hand seal, a large amount of blood-colored smoke rushed toward the sky, piercing demon venerable from the frozen space. The latter was the king of this area. Naturally, he didn't believe that he was no match for Su Fong in terms of poison. He also spat out his own blood-colored demonic poison. Sizzle. 2 types of poison energy, one evil energy and the other demonic poison, collided, fiercely trying to devour the other. After a series of sharp corrosion, Su Fong's blood hell wolf smoke not only didn't let the blood-colored demonic poison gain the upper hand, it even gradually suppressed it. However, it soon revealed the extraordinary power of the poison. The sky-piercing demon venerable was exhausted. He spat out even more demonic poison. He didn't believe that a demon king like him wouldn't be able to suppress a 9th-level calamity cultivator. Using evil to suppress evil. This was the method Su Fong had already thought of. Since the sky-piercing demon venerable's demonic poison was an innate ability, he also had to have a way to counter it. Fortunately, he had the Night Spirit Sect's blood hell wolf smoke. This evil energy was not from the devil Tao, nor was it from the monster Tao, nor was it from the righteous Tao. It was a very special energy of heaven and earth. He didn't expect it to be able to counter the monster Tao. In addition, there was the terrifying Yinming Qi of the devil Tao. With such a freezing ability, even the sky-piercing demon venerable couldn't compare. This kind of energy seemed easy to use, but in fact it required countless years of cultivation to make one's true qi undergo a qualitative change and become a magical power. The blood hell wolf smoke, Yinming Qi, Nanyang true qi, and the power of the world were all the same. The sky-piercing demon venerable's blood-colored poison gas was also cultivated. Most big goblin directly spit out demonic qi or poison, but the sky-piercing demon venerable fused demonic poison with his true qi. After a stalemate, the sky-piercing demon venerable used his clone to confuse Su Fong. However, he didn't expect Su Fong to see through it. The Yinming Qi turned into ice, making it difficult for the sky-piercing demon venerable to approach. Then, the sky-piercing demon venerable fused a large amount of demonic qi with the god ghost claw. This strange Tao artifact emitted an astonishing Dharma treasure flame. God Ghostblade, the sky-piercing demon Venerable, used his full strength to activate the God Ghost Claw. Its astonishing divine power and true chi fused with such a powerful divine weapon. Although it was afraid of the blood hell wolf smoke and the Yinming Qi, it originally planned to directly crush the two forces with its strength. The joints on its body crackled, and the God Ghost Claw reached out. 10 destructive forces reached the peak of its divine power. Any magical power would be shattered under the pure power. The 10 sharp claws with astonishing demonic chi clawed at the space where the blood hell wolf smoke and the Yinming Qi were, leaving 10 fingerprints on the two forces. As soon as the cracks appeared, the power of the black hole crazily absorbed the blood hell wolf smoke and the Yinming Qi. This is the sky-piercing demon Venerable's strongest state. Not only did Su Fong retreat, but he also saw the scene where even the most powerful magical power would be shattered under absolute power. The sky-piercing demon Venerable was really too powerful. With such strength, it shattered the blood hell wolf smoke and the Yinming Qi. If it were elders heaven and earth, they could only use other magical powers to restrain the two forces. This was what human cultivators did. However, the demon race's method was just that simple. With their physical talents and Dharma treasures, they could deal with the powerful magical powers of the humans. Of course, it was just that Su Fong's cultivation level was too low. If he had a certain cultivation level of the Yu transformation realm, his Yinming Qi and blood hell wolf smoke would not be something that the sky-piercing demon Venerable could easily crush. If that's the case, I didn't want to hurt you. I wanted to slowly exhaust my demonic Qi and then suppress you. I can only deal with you like how I dealt with Purple Windlord. At this moment, Su Fong felt that the sky-piercing demon Venerable was extremely powerful. Fortunately, he had the advantage of magical powers, and he still had many tricks that he had not used. He secretly paid attention to all the changes around him. The big goblin was fighting. If he could suppress the sky-piercing demon Venerable earlier, it would undoubtedly reduce the casualties on his side. He would also be able to suppress all the big goblin as soon as possible. Wuji Clone Fusion. First, he released more blood hell wolf smoke. At this moment, he activated Limitless Clone and added a lot of power to it, turning it into clones formed by the blood hell wolf smoke. Dozens of clones immediately surrounded the sky-piercing monster Venerable with the help of the blood hell wolf smoke when the sky-piercing monster Venerable charged over. He also activated the power of the world to control this large space. Unexpectedly, the sky-piercing demon Venerable was shocked. This is the Doichi Wuji Clone Fusion. I killed the Doichi experts and took their technique, the Wuji Clone Fusion, Lung Xiao said. He activated all the Wuji Clone Fusion and released the blood hell wolf smoke. Instantly, they pounced towards the sky-piercing demon Venerable. The sky-piercing demon Venerable obviously understood the Wuji Clone Fusion very well. Back then, I caught a few Doichi experts and forced them to tell me the Wuji Dao technique. I didn't expect you to cultivate the Wuji Clone Fusion to such a high level. You can even use it alone. But this is not enough. Pierce. Just as the great demon activated the god Ghost Claw to grab at the approaching clones of Wuji, he destroyed each one he touched. Su Fong suddenly flicked his finger. Under the protection of the power of the world and the Wuji Clone Fusion, while the sky-piercing demon Venerable's attention was focused on dealing with the Wuji Clone Fusion, a distorted ray of light suddenly shot out from the Wuji Clone Fusion and attacked the sky-piercing demon Venerable's back. Chi. This ray of light was extremely sharp. It first pierced through the silver armor on the sky-piercing demon Venerable's back. Then, when the sky-piercing demon Venerable looked uneasy, it pierced through his chest. It was the supreme assassination Dharma treasure, the Starry Daylight Sword. More Wuji Clone Fusion and the Netherworld Aura worked together. At this moment, they followed the Wuji Clone Fusion and attacked the sky-piercing demon Venerable. No matter how powerful a peerless big goblin was, if a Dharma treasure that had reached the pinnacle of the small world pierced through its body, it would instantly destroy everything in its body. Su Fong suddenly used the power of the world to increase his speed to a speed faster than teleportation. Boom! The sky-piercing demon Venerable's demonic aura exploded. His body started to transform. His human form disappeared, revealing a foot-long black fur. Gradually, his true form was revealed. He was the Divine Arms Spirit Monkey. You want to fight with your demonic body? He would not give him any chance. Suddenly, the supreme Tao artifact's divine might turned into a door and descended from the sky. Before the sky-piercing demon Venerable completely transformed into his true form, the door of the Tao artifact's light and power landed on top of him. Bang! 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 Enveloped by the door's divine might, the sky-piercing demon Venerable ignored the starry daylight sword and did not force out this Dharma treasure. He just used his demonic aura to attack the Tao artifact's divine might. However, no matter how powerful he was, could he shake the Tao artifact? Of course not, especially when he was seriously injured. Su Fong shouted, "Accept your fate." No! The sky-piercing demon Venerable's blood-red eyes and his demonic body were filled with burning flames. He wanted to resist. However, Su Fong's aura sucked the sky-piercing demon Venerable into the Tao artifact's door. Fortunately, I can use my full strength to suppress the sky-piercing demon Venerable with my advantage. Together with the Xian Huang Six Paths Pagoda, the Starry Daylight Sword, and the Divine Image Jade Annulus, I can suppress the sky-piercing demon Venerable. At this moment, the Tao artifact's door disappeared from Su Fong's palm. The Starry Daylight Sword returned to Su Fong's hand. He turned around and released the Heavenly Demon Disintegration Seal. The voice of thunder boomed. "All Big Goblin, listen up. Your king, the sky-piercing demon Venerable, and the Wuling Goblin have been suppressed. If you still resist, you will die." The voice came at the right time. The brute force demon king was leading the Big Goblin and fighting against thousands of big goblins. However, when the Big Goblin heard that the Wuling Goblin and the sky-piercing demon Venerable had been suppressed, they did not dare to resist. The nine-headed demon king transformed into his true form. On the other side, he used his 9 heads to spit out poisonous gas to control 9 big goblins. Around him, there were more than 100 big goblins that were severely injured and restrained. Su Jinhua and Li Haojia were also suppressing many big goblin in the other 2 directions. While Su Fong suppressed the 2 big goblin kings and intimidated all the big goblins, everyone unleashed more power and forced the big goblins to give up resisting. Su Fong activated his teleportation speed. With a flash of lightning, countless afterimages were formed. A Tao artifact door appeared above the big goblin and sucked a large number of big goblins into the Tao artifact. Some of the more powerful big goblins wanted to escape, but they were surrounded by the 9-headed demon king and the others. More than 10,000 big goblins have been suppressed. Half a day later, the ruins quieted down. Su Fong, Su Jinhua, Li Haojia, the 9-headed demon king, the brute force demon king, and the other big goblins appeared around the undying turtle. The other areas were all suppressed. Many big goblins escaped, and they were too lazy to chase after them. Su Fong had suppressed more than 10,000 big goblins, and there were still many big goblins that were severely injured under the undying turtle. They were just waiting to be captured. Chapter 744. As the experts prepared, Su Fong used his Tao artifact's power to envelop the undying tortoise. He first sucked the undying tortoise into the Tao artifact, revealing the ground that had been crushed into ruins. There were countless big goblins that could not move, as well as corpses. Su Fong immediately used his Tao artifact to suck in the heavily injured big goblin. Some of them were not seriously injured, but they did not dare to resist and were suppressed. After absorbing all of them, Su Fong began to organize the big goblin corpses. There were more than 3,000 big goblin corpses. He released his great perfection perception and kept the corpses of the tree demons, earth demons, and nature demons. The rest of the corpses were given to the injured big goblin to absorb and devour. After another round of looting, Other than the brute force demon king and the nine-headed demon king, the rest of the big goblin were sucked into the Xianhuang Six Paths Pagoda. The three of them quickly arrived at the edge of the demon cavern continent. After setting up a barrier, Su Fong took out the immortal blood essence pill and immortal fruits energy and gave them to Su Jinhua, Li Haojia, the nine-headed demon king, and the brute force demon king. Everyone sat cross-legged at different points in the barrier and recovered. Although they had won this battle, they had all used up a lot of true qi and needed some time to recover. Su Fong also swallowed a drop of immortal blood and used his body to merge with a few immortal fruits. Give me more big goblin corpses. After a while, the undying tortoise lazily sent a message. Su Fong had given it more than 100 big goblin corpses to cultivate. It should be able to enjoy it for a while. Su Fong asked with concern, "Undying tortoise, how is your body?" After the last baptism and devouring immortal fruits and immortal's energy, my body is much more flexible than before. However, it's still too difficult to control such a big body. The undying tortoise replied and stayed in the Dao artifact space, lying there motionlessly. Su Fong was in the midst of energy roaring. Then he peeled off a young nascent soul and entered the Dao space. As soon as he stepped into the space, Su Fong saw countless heavily injured big goblin in a state of panic. When the big goblins saw Su Fong, they were shocked. However, Su Fong immediately threw out several aphrodisiac pills. After the big goblin swallowed the pills, they were shocked by the shocking power of the pills and began to recover on their own. Su Fong made a grabbing motion with his hand, and 2 Dao treasure seals appeared in front of him. On the left were dozens of black bloodstones, which were actually woolen goblin. On the right was naturally the heavenly demon venerable. He was in a severely injured state and could not move. When he saw Su Fong, he might have wanted to use a killing move immediately. However, he was trapped in the Dao treasure world and could only be shackled. Woolen goblin, Empyrean demon sovereign, you've already fallen into my hands. I won't kill you. Instead, I'll give you large amounts of resources to help you recover. Now that the Dao item space has regained its freedom, we'll talk about it again. However, I still have to bind you. In an instant, Su Fong's Overlord aura was released. It filled the entire immortal formation that the big goblin was in. Su Fong used the Dao treasure, the true demon blood plate, and the 9 Yang true qi to form the shackle imprints and send them into the big goblin's body. Regardless of whether the big goblin was willing or not, they could only watch as the power of the shackles shackled their primordial spirits in their bodies. From now on, whenever Su Fong wanted to kill them, he would activate the imprints and unleash the killing divine might, instantly killing the big goblin's primordial spirits. Su Fong calmed down and looked at the woolen goblin. Fuse with your physical body. If you really want to die, you can say it in front of me. You're an Earth-type big goblin, and I also have Earth-type abilities. I can't wait for you to die and then devour your Earth-type essence. With a flick of his finger, the immortal formation shackling the woolen goblin disappeared. The woolen goblin shattered into pieces of bloodstone. Its head was filled with anger, but it really didn't care about its life. In this world, there was no one who didn't care about their lives, unless it was those ignorant young children or those who were forced into a desperate situation. However, the woolen goblin was not immature, and Su Fong didn't really want to kill it. Why would it not care about its own life? The woolen goblin snorted and activated its demonic qi, releasing its instincts. The bloodstone began to tremble and then surge toward its head. In terms of physical body, the woolen goblin is stronger than the Tongtian demon venerable. However, in terms of overall strength, the Tongtian demon venerable is stronger. In addition to the 9-headed demon king, with these 3 peerless big goblins, I have 6 experts like the elders of heaven and earth in my hands. There are more than 10,000 big goblins suppressed here. In addition to the 5,000 big goblin from before, there are more than 20,000 small commanders. I made the right choice coming to the Immortal Melody world this time. Although there are less than 100,000 big goblin, there are more than 20,000 small commanders. There is also the undying tortoise, a heaven-defying giant demon. I can't even imagine how strong the magic power is. With my cultivation at the 9th level of catastrophe, I can't bear the power of more than 20,000 small commanders. Not to mention the 9th level of catastrophe, even a feather transformation realm cultivator would have a hard time supporting all the big goblin's magic power. My physical body isn't enough. Seeing the wooling goblin voluntarily fusing with its demon body, Su Fang's heart calmed down. He saw hope, the hope of fighting with any expert, not to mention the feather transformation realm. Even now, he could fight with any expert other than the realm lord. He had endless power and potential. With a magic power of more than 20,000 small commanders supporting his physical body, what kind of power was that? In the past, with more than 900 small commanders supporting him, his combat power had reached the peak. Now that it was 20 times more, what kind of concept was that? Sky-piercing demon venerable. Su Fang looked at the other big goblin. Don't be unconvinced. Maybe the Doichi can't do anything to you, but that doesn't mean others can't. If I really wanted to kill you, why would I fight with you again and again? My Starlight sword kills without leaving a trace. If I really wanted to kill you, I could use the Starlight sword to take your head in a few moves. I'm not saying this to ignore you, but to tell you that you're not my enemy. Although I'm your enemy, I'm only here to suppress you. In the future, follow me and dominate the world. Moreover, I'm already the realm lord of a small world. I'm currently gathering power and strengthening my foundation. You won't lose out by following me. You're a peerless king here. In the future, when I open up a small world, you'll still be a king. You'll even have the chance to become an immortal. Recuperate with the wooling goblin. I believe that with your own resources and my immortal strength, you'll recover quickly. I'll say one more thing. There's a saying in this world. Those who follow me prosper. Those who oppose me perish. If anyone dares to disobey me, I won't give them a second chance. Just like that, Su Fang coldly glanced at the sky-piercing venerable monster, then disappeared from the Tao artifact space. The sky-piercing venerable monster and the wooling goblin looked at each other. Suddenly, they were like pickled eggplants. They were surrounded by a Tao artifact space. Even if they were big goblins, how could they break a Tao artifact? His consciousness returned. It's okay this time. I only used up some true chi. I just broke through to the 9th layer of catastrophe. Now, I need to increase my strength. Once I recover, I'll return to the primordial god world and settle down the human emperor world. Then, I'll merge with the human emperor world. I can't be threatened by the Xinyuan Empire. He continued cultivating. A year later, his true energy was restored, and his cultivation base was back in the 9th level of tribulation transcendence. He took out the corpse of a big goblin. It was a tree demon. Part of the tree demon's corpse was in the shape of a human body, while the other part was a tree with intertwined roots. The tree demon was dead, but the spirit pearl in its body was still there. Moreover, the wood essence in its body was permeated with the dragon-taming wood's left arm. It was the life energy that the dragon-taming wood absorbed. I didn't expect to meet an existence like the wooling goblin. The experts it brought were mostly natural monsters. There are many corpses, enough for me to cultivate. Gradually, he waved his left arm. The dragon-taming wood's power was almost perfectly integrated with his left arm. His 5 fingers grabbed 5 branches, and many roots grew out like the heavenly gourd spirit tree. Then, the 5 branches wrapped around the tree demon's corpse. A large number of roots pierced the surface of the corpse and drilled into it. The roots began to become crystal clear. This color was the life, energy, and Yao Qi. Step by step, it extended towards Su Ang's left arm. Soon, the power from the tree demon began to flow into his left arm. Suddenly, his left arm released a shocking green life energy. This energy then swept through his entire body. Even the black lotus blood threads in his body were wantonly absorbing this life energy. The black lotus true body seemed to be a body of flesh and blood, but in fact, it was built on the wood attribute treasure, the black lotus. Therefore, the black lotus true body was also a type of wood attribute. This feels good. I've absorbed a lot of the heavenly gourd spirit tree's essence. I didn't expect that most of my left arm's transformations were like the heavenly gourd spirit tree's roots. These tree demons can't compare to the heavenly gourd spirit tree. It has been more than 100 years since the heavenly gourd spirit tree destroyed Prince Shui. According to Prince Shui's ability, with the help of the mysterious Taoist gourd, he might start to absorb the heavenly gourd spirit tree in the heavenly gourd realm again. No, the heavenly gourd spirit tree is mine. It's not Taoist Heiyun or Prince Shui. Currently, my body's would attribute power has taken up a very high proportion. But this is far from enough. Heavenly gourd spirit tree, I still have to find a way to get you. During the fusion process, Su Fong saw a shocking change in his body. After about a year, he had absorbed the tree demon into a dried corpse. Overall, he looked like a big tree that had died long ago. The tree demon had cultivated for so many years. Unfortunately, its life force had become Su Fong in the end. He took out a second tree demon corpse and continued to absorb. The speed of absorption was twice as fast as before because his strength was much stronger than before. This repeated for about 10 years. After absorbing the third tree demon corpse, Su Fong actually emitted a tribulation aura. He was going to undergo tribulation. Great! Su Fong left behind a sentence and went to another big forest. After some arrangements, the heavenly tribulation had already gathered. Su Fong began to soar into the sky, resisting the first heavenly tribulation with the formation. Kid, your 10 tribulation is very powerful, haha. The undying tortoise squatted on one side and couldn't wait to absorb the power of the heavenly tribulation. It's best if it's heavenly lightning, earthly fire. Heavenly lightning, earthly fire is a heavenly tribulation that only feather transformation realm cultivators face. I don't dare to recklessly attract such a great tribulation. He couldn't follow the undying tortoise's thoughts. When the first heavenly tribulation descended, Su Fong used his big hand to grab a part of the heavenly tribulation and threw it into the undying tortoise's mouth. It was really a heaven-defying monster, swallowing the heavenly tribulation in one gulp. Su Fong also forcefully shattered the first heavenly tribulation. The following heavenly tribulations, although the overall strength of the heavenly tribulation increased as he continued to strip the heavenly tribulation, it wasn't too difficult for someone like him to overcome. When it came to the last heavenly tribulation, the 10th tribulation, the heavenly lightning, earthly fire occupied half of the entire heavenly tribulation. It was too terrifying. Since the undying tortoise needed this kind of heavenly tribulation, Su Fong stripped a third of the heavenly lightning, earthly fire, and threw it at the undying tortoise. Just as he stripped it, a large number of vortexes of flames appeared around the 10th tribulation. These vortexes of flames fused with the 10th tribulation, wanting to completely kill Su Fong. Such a height of heavenly tribulation was still around 5th feather transformation realm. But Su Fong was the 9th tribulation. Using Claw Prince, he shattered the descending heavenly tribulation in the air. Su Fong faced it cautiously, then looked at the undying tortoise in the distance. The undying tortoise had swallowed a lot of heavenly lightning, earthly fire this time. Its entire body was also covered in tribulation light, as if it wanted to overturn its turtle shell. He originally thought that the undying tortoise would be in pain, but this old fellow looked like he was enjoying it.